Shut up and sit down.
Happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary.
Well, thanks, fellas. It sure was.
She and happy, they're both as happy as can be. Celebrating merrily their happy anniversary.
I see you riding in the night. That's the only way to get around. It's very hard to.
You are listening to the Dialed Podcast and are about to enjoy the one-year anniversary episode with Matt Legrand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von During. Here's to another year of me pretending to like you guys. Tip of the day. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Get her done.
Riding my bike is a wonderful thing. Makes me feel good and to agree. I like the soft wind blow into my face. Taking a cruise and to relate.
Happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary.
All right, knock it off.
That just happened.
Hi, and welcome to the Dial Podcast. I am Jake Von During, and today I'm here with Lance Hepler.
Lance Romance in studio with all my friends.
It's nice having you in studio.
It's been like 3
love
weeks, and I just miss you guys. I'm so
miss
happy to be here.
And to his right, Evan Price.
I agree. This is great, guys. What are we all drinking today?
We're sipping on the
Kirkland.
sparkling water. This is our sponsor.
I got a Spindrift.
Spindrift. Okay.
I'm not-
Okay.
When are we going to get them to sponsor us?
We need to.
We need to reach
I've
out
been
to
waiting
those
for
boys.
that phone call. They haven't called us yet, so.
Does Costco have a little jingle that we can put in here?
Yeah.
Matt Legrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? Yes. It's good to see your smiling faces.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. All right. We have got some monstrous back pedals, not from me and not too much from Matt.
This is like single gear backpedaling right now.
Evan and Lance, did you guys arm wrestle to see who gets to go first?
We did not. Who's going first, Evan?
I'm going to defer to you so I can gain some energy here.
Yeah, Evan's pretty slacked right now. So, Lance, back pedal for us.
Well, I've got 3 races to talk about. I did a road race, I did a mountain bike race, and I did a gravel race. So I've got...
Are you like trying to go the all around?
Wearing the
whatever
T-shirt from it too. Yeah.
I think because I just I don't know what kind of cyclist I am yet, so I'm just doing all of it to see.
What kind of cyclist do you want to be when you grow up?
I don't know. I'm just going to do all of it. So I'll start with the road race. It was actually 2 weeks ago. A week and a half ago. I can't even remember.
Time is weird.
But the day before, I went to do this road race. It was called the Piece of Cake Road Race.
Oh, yeah.
And I was out on a little warm-up ride, and I ran into Matt, and I had a vertigo attack.
Oh,
God, I
Are
completely
we
forgot
gonna-
about
are
this
we gonna
part of the
talk
story.
about this?
I completely forgot about
Are we
this.
going to talk about this?
yeah, we have to. No,
I'm actually glad because I I texted Jake and he was like, hey, can't make a ride or whatever. And this was totally like, 5-minute warning kind of
Yeah.
thing. And then it was like, I was like throwing a leg over the bike and I'm like, I'm heading west towards your house. Like, are you? And you're like, I'm on the bike. Let's meet
hook up.
Let's meet up. Which is awesome that is even possible.
Right. So I'm riding towards Matt, and I'm slowing down for a truck or something, and I get hit with a vertigo attack, and I've never had vertigo before.
Never had this
Never
before.
had it before.
Yeah.
But I slow down, my head just starts spinning. I have to like step off the bike and lay down in somebody's front yard on their grass. And I'm thinking, and it took like 3 minutes to clear. It finally clears. I get back on my bike. I'm thinking, should I keep riding? This is stupid. I'm
As
not sure.
one should. Yeah.
Right. But I'm going to go in. I hook up with Matt, and I'm like, Matt, hey, what's going on? Hey, I just really strange thing. I just had the strangest vertigo attack. I've never had one before. He's like, well, you okay to go? And I'm like, yeah, let's keep going. Sure enough, we come to the very next stoplight, and it hits me again. And I'm like, Matt, I need to go lay down. And I basically stumbled into the grass and started puking.
I think it was like because I was like, oh, you're not gonna throw up, are you? And I think I put that like seed in your head where you're like, then you're like, oh yes, now I am. Thanks for mentioning that. You know,
So I'm puking, and Matt's like, Lance, don't crawl in your own puke, because I couldn't like stay up straight.
oh man,
It was pretty crazy.
I was
So
really worried about you for sure.
Matt was super awesome. He like walked me home and got me inside the house and set me up with a bowl in case I puked again. He's like, you have some experience taking care of sick people.
Pukey kids.
So,
Yeah. Well, you know, that's been part of my backpedal will be like we've had the flu go through the house, so definitely had the bowl with next to the kids on the couch.
Oh God.
So that's the standard thing for sure. And the video that I promise I will post eventually is like, you know, it starts up me talking about like, hey, we got a sick kid in the house. Here's some workouts that you can do when you're taking care of kids. It's basically the theme of the video.
That's a good idea.
I'm hoping that comes out on Wednesday, the same day that this podcast will come out. That's my goal.
that's the goal.
Yeah.
So
When are we addressing the hard-hitting laundry topics too?
Oh man, I'm totally taking over your backpedal.
that's okay. I spent the whole morning trying to fix my washing machine. So
Did you really? Yeah. I didn't really accomplish much as far as workouts, but I did post a video on April 1st, aka April Fool's Day, where I decided that I was going to change my triathlon YouTube channel to only talk about laundry, the fourth discipline of triathlon. And I think it had some good, you know, commentary and stuff like that. So good, you know, received well.
Picked
So
up a couple
it's
followers.
Yep.
So anyway, so the next day is the Piece of Cake Road Race. I don't know if I should do it or if I shouldn't.
Yeah.
I woke up and kind of felt okay, and I thought, I'm just going to drive down there and see what's up. But so I go down there. I'm racing it's a Cat 345 race, and it's the 40 to 49-year-olds. So there was about 30 people in the race, and we had 10 teammates in it.
That's so ridiculous.
We had 10 teammates racing in it, which was just fantastic. And I actually was feeling fairly good, and so I thought, okay, it's about a 55-mile race, 4 laps, some little punchy rollers, but no real big climbs. And
were you scared during the whole race? Like,
yeah,
this thing could hit at any
it
time.
could hit at any time.
Yeah.
But I just like put it out of my head and kind of went. So the race starts off pretty slow, and of course it's way too slow for our teammate Chris Hannell, Dr. Chris Hannell, who's got a motor.
He's a beast on the bike.
Because we had talked about the 3 people that we were going to try to work for. It was going to, out of the 10 people who were racing, was really Chris Hannell and Chris Surratt and myself. We're going to try to work it. But Chris took off and joined up with another guy at like mile 4.
He's like, screw
it was going way too slow.
this plan.
And he rolls up and he goes, hey, you guys, I'm just going to go. And we're like, dude, if you can get in the break, go.
Yeah.
Fantastic. If all 3 of us had gone at that point, they would have chased us down.
Did you try and say something just before he left to him, though? Because I think I talked to him.
Oh.
And he's telling me, because I wanted the race report, and he was the first person to call me back. And I love his race reports because they're always comical, and I like to get his perspective.
He would be great. If we could get him on the podcast, he would be
well, he was on the
He was
podcast
on
when
a
we did
training
the
camp.
Training camp.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah,
we
that's
talked about the route planning, but he made a comment. He's like, you know, whenever I do racing with you, you're always like playing my dad. Like, no, don't go yet. Just hold on. You know, it's like, get back here. Hold on. Not yet. And like, he's like, I thought Lance was going to try and be you and turn into dad out there on the course. And he said that you said something, but he wasn't sure what it was. And like, all he heard was, wah, 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 and then he rode off. So
My comment was, I was like, have fun, Chris.
Okay.
We'll see you at the end, is what I said. And I waved at him as he went. So, I was like all for it. If you
you're
go,
fun Uncle Lance and I'm mean dad.
That's right. So he
I don't understand how other teams are like seeing Lance wave at his teammate, like, see you later. And they're not like, okay, well, I guess they're going to go. It's not like that's not very much of a sneak attack.
It's because I can't take anything seriously, Matt. Nobody like takes me seriously because I'm always cracking stupid jokes, even when we're riding around in the group.
You're like the opposite of like the overseer of the Peloton. It's like whatever the opposite of that. It's like the jester of the Peloton.
The Peloton clown.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Chris gets away with one other guy, and they're just kind of going. And it wasn't more than 2 or 3 minutes later when 2 guys attacked. Chris Surratt went, and I went with them, and me and Chris got in a second breakaway. So
How deep into the race were you again?
6 miles, 7 miles.
Okay,
So
So you
every
had
move
50
happened
miles
in
to
the
go,
first
basically.
lap.
50 miles to go.
So wait, so you had 4 people in a second breakaway, and
Yep.
you guys are basically like, we're not going to work.
Correct.
We have a guy in the lead up there.
Exactly.
Okay.
It
Nice.
was fantastic. And 7 teammates behind us
Yeah.
who were
Blocking.
disrupting the
Yep.
rest of the, not doing any work and disrupting. It worked
Oh, that's awesome.
beautifully.
That's awesome.
So me and Christian are breakaway with 2 other guys. We're 40 seconds behind.
Were the 2 other guys
Hannel.
really angry at you guys?
No,
Did they-
because we
No,
we,
they know.
we
I
did
mean,
our
you should
work,
know.
and we
did a
did
little
work.
work.
We just didn't take as long of pulls.
Right.
You know, it's like and we knew it's your guys' job to pull us up if you want to catch him. But me and Chris were not going to try to catch.
No, I mean that's totally fair,
Yeah.
and everyone gets that. But still, you have. If I were them, I would pretend to be snarky, like, "Come on, do your, maybe something like."
weren't.
They were cool. They were like,
They were
whatever.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Well.
it was good racing. So Chris and the other guy stayed away. Chris ended up second, and then the 4 of us, we were about 2 minutes behind them. We got actually held up by a truck that pulled out in front of us. So we lost a minute in the middle of the race. We were just about ready to pull them back, but we lost a minute. So, and then Chris Surratt led me out to try to win the sprint
for third. Yeah,
but there was another guy who got me by half a wheel at the line, and he was a solid Cat 3 racer, and I'm still a Cat 5 junkie.
Technically, yeah.
And
So I ended up fourth.
you felt no problem. Did you feel any
No.
sort of dizziness after you stopped or anything?
Nothing. I've had 0 issues since that
Interesting.
puking in the grass day.
My guess is like we were talking about at Matt's birthday party, Lance, is it was probably just like a quick BPPV, and when you were puking and stumbling around, you just knocked your crystals back in somehow.
That's what I'm
or,
guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were still busy. You were pretty dizzy when you got back to your house and got on the couch.
Yes.
And you were exhausted.
Yes. For hours.
Yeah.
For hours.
That's scary.
Yeah.
You did the Epley maneuver too, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
I did the Epley, but it didn't give me any new symptoms when I did it. And if you've got a crystal loose, it should reinvigorate your symptoms if
Gotcha.
you're doing Epley, and it didn't happen. So I thought, okay, maybe this is just
You were probably already fine by
weird.
that point then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So pretty crazy. Anyway, so Hannel took second, and I ended up fourth, just off the podium. And Surratt was fifth, right behind me, because he led me out. He sacrificed himself.
How do points work for that? Do you get you beat all the other 5, so do you get more points or
No.
anything? Or?
No,
Okay.
it's
No.
all
It's going to be a mass start race, and it has the maximum number that you need to get the most points for a field. Like if it was like under 10 people in the race, then he would have gotten less points. But
You got whatever 4th place points.
You
Yeah.
got 4th place points for a mass start of, I think, a field grader of 25 or something like
Yeah,
that. So
something like that.
you'll get something like 4 or 5 points for that to go
and you
towards your
need
upgrade. Like
15, or is it 10? 15?
to go from a, are you a
5
5?
to 4.
I'm a 5.
Okay. I think it's only 10 points.
Yeah.
So you'll probably, because Jack Frost doesn't count towards that. That's the first road race. You did dirty. No, you didn't do dirty
I
circles.
didn't do either of those. Yeah.
Did you? And you didn't do any road racing last year?
No.
Yeah, you still have a couple races to go
Yeah.
then. You will did you do any PR last year?
Yeah, I did a bunch.
Some of those will count towards this as well. So you're going to be getting that upgrade email probably in the next race or two.
That's okay. I was happy. I mean, the top 10 guys were all 3s, and
Yeah.
I was 4th.
On paper, you're a 5.
Yes.
On a bicycle, you're a 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just-
And a good 3. Yeah.
So
So yeah, that's the road race.
Yeah. Race 1.
Race 1.
race 2.
Race number 2. So I did the Mudslinger mountain bike cross country race, and it's an 18-mile race that has about 3,000 feet of climbing.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
So on a mountain bike, and it had been raining for a couple of days.
Looks sloppy.
It was super sloppy and super muddy.
Did you wipe out?
It was greasy. I did not wipe out.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah. Big mass start, one big wave, but we're all in thing. And again, it was me and Chris Surratt.
Yep.
That guy's like your best friend.
We
now,
are, man. We're total buds. I love it.
which is awesome. He's like the best person. If you're gonna have a cycling buddy, he's super chill.
Oh,
He's super happy all the
I'm
time.
just so glad that he was there. So
Yeah.
we were both racing Cat 2. This is mountain bike Cat 2. There's only 3 categories, 1, 2, and 3. And we're racing Cat 2, 40 to 49. And it was so dirty and so muddy. I mean, there was all these single track downhills, and you were like locked up, skidding, sliding through these downhills, and it was a little bit crazy. Have you done that race before, Jake?
I have not.
Did your sunglasses just get completely caked?
I didn't even wear them.
Oh, yeah.
Were you just like windshield wipers?
Yeah, I didn't even wear them.
Well,
I
how
didn't
much-
even put them on.
What
my
day
helmet.
was this again here?
This was Saturday.
Saturday.
How much
Yeah.
mud and grime did you get in your eyes? Did you have any problems that way? Because I know that Robert Cummings had an issue with his
He
cornea
did.
getting scratched. Was it because of that?
Yes. So
Wow.
same thing. Robert couldn't wear glasses either, and a chunk went into his eye, and he scratched his cornea, and his eye was like almost swollen shut, and he won by minutes. Robert just smoked us.
Yep.
And then he raced the next day, right?
He did.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So anyway, long story short, it was like an hour and 40-minute battle, and Chris and I ended up going first and second in that
Wow.
race.
Nice.
We had a group of, there was 30 I think in our category, and we were first and second. We thought we were second and third, but the guy who won had inadvertently cut the course. He didn't.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh,
He
that's
did-
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there was he missed a turn and didn't even realize he missed the turn.
That's too bad.
So, and he had beat us by like 5 minutes, and me and Chris were like, "Where did that guy come from?" Because we were like watching and looking for guys, and we didn't know where he came from. And he's a cross racer that we have both handily beat. And so we're like, "Dude, good for you. That was totally awesome. Congrats." And it turned out that he skipped 4 miles.
How did they find out?
His
Maybe he posted
Strava.
GPS. Yeah.
Oh, did somebody call him out?
No, I think he self-reported.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yes.
Totally.
Yeah, totally class move.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. I mean, it's tough because he's like, hey, this was an accident. Sorry. You know.
Right.
And he probably knows too, like, I shouldn't beat these guys. Like something's fishy here.
So you guys need to all drive back down to Corvallis and get back up on the
Let's do
podium,
it.
take a new picture.
There you go.
So, yeah, so Chris Surratt took first, and I think that's his third podium as a Cat 2, so he's going to be upgraded to a Cat 1.
Yeah, he's freaking strong.
And I was second, and Terry Hamness was fourth. He was about 4 minutes
Nice.
behind us, and Brian Wise was there, and Mark Westfield was there.
Sonia
and
Ebert was there?
Sonia Ebert was there.
all the Westerfield kids.
Yeah.
Paul First.
Paul First.
Robert Cummings,
Robert
yeah.
Cummings raced it for
How'd
Dial.
Paul and Robert do?
Robert won
He
the
was-
elite
the
by
elite.
minutes.
Yeah.
Wow.
He won last year as well. He's just screaming
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
So.
And there's so much climbing. There was so much climbing in this and the climbs
That's his
were
ballpark?
Yeah, were not difficult. I mean, they weren't technical climbs. They were just long, grinding uphill gravel climbs.
Yeah, Robert's watts per kilo are like through the roof. He's so strong.
What do you think
And
he's at?
weight wise? His
Watts per kilo.
Oh, I think his FTP is and
5'2", 5'3".
probably up there
Yeah.
somewhere. I think his
Yeah.
FTP was in the ballpark of like 360.
Probably.
I bet.
But he only weighs like 145 pounds.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean,
That's crazy.
He's-
I bet
Oh,
Paul
he's-
did really well on a course like
He's
that. also.
5'5" then.
Yeah, he
Close.
did well too, but he raced as an elite. And
Oh, okay.
he,
That's hard.
He raced in the elite field, and
yeah.
But he's just good.
was
like
top
that's
10,
that's,
I think.
That's
Yeah.
kind of seems like his style. Like
Yeah.
a lot of climbing, a
Good
lot
for
of
Paul. That's awesome.
It's good
Yeah.
technical bike handler.
Yeah, he is.
so.
yeah. So that was a ton of fun out there to do well. So
Nice.
Yeah, and my clothes were so filthy that I threw them in the washing machine. They clogged the drain in my washing machine. I should have hosed them down first. It was so
That is
filthy.
hilarious.
laundry is super important, Lance.
That's right.
You should check out my
Wait,
channel.
I should
Wait for Matt's next episode.
check,
Yeah.
check out my channel.
I ruined my washing machine.
So you got the little hose sprayer thing on your sprinter.
I
man.
did.
And I think you took a picture. Like one leg was just covered in mud, and the other one you looked like you'd sprayed off, and it was like, wow, that was pretty nasty
it was
stuff.
pretty nasty stuff. Yeah. So that was on Saturday, and the next day was the Gorge Gravel Grinder, which is the gravel event. Any other questions about the mountain bike race?
Dude, I hear that a lot. It seemed like a lot of people were super pumped about that Gorge Gravel Grinder. Like that, I saw people coming from Bend and all over the place.
So
It's a great race.
It's sold out a few weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you couldn't get into it. It was very difficult to get in. But then the weather just completely deteriorated this week. And the Dalles, Oregon, where the start was, it normally gets about 12 inches of rain a year.
Yeah.
It got 2 inches of rain last week.
Oh, man.
Like in the 3 days leading up to it, it got 2 inches of rain.
Well, you're lucky there weren't landslides, right? I mean,
It's kind of farm flat country. I mean,
Right.
rolling hills kind of stuff once you get out to where the race course is at. So I don't know if you're going to have to
not
deal
that
with that
style.
kind. It's not that style, but you're going to definitely deal with a lot of mud and ruts and
Right.
wind.
And it's usually, just glorious gravel roads, and it's great racing out there, and it can be windy. But with all the rain, a lot of the gravel roads just turn to mud.
do you wish you had your I don't know I don't know what you rode, but did you wish you had your mountain bike?
No, it would have been significantly slower on the mountain bike. But they had recommended using either 28s tires or 32 tires, and those were mistakes. You needed a 40, to really be. It just got so bad. So it had the Gorge Gravel Grinder. There were 3 distances. There was a 103-mile race with 8,000 feet of climbing. There was a 75-mile race with 5,000 feet of climbing. And then there was a 50-mile race with 3,000 feet of climbing or something like that. And tons of people, when they showed up and they heard how the conditions were, switched from the long one to the big one.
Which is probably smart.
So there were 150 people signed up for the 103-mile race. About 30 finished.
Yeah.
Wow.
You earned that shirt, man. Oh my God.
So, and there was a point 25 miles in that you could decide if you were gonna go short, if you were gonna not do the long one, and tons of people who were signed up for the long one went short.
Which makes sense. I mean, it's if you're in there and you're these conditions are not good, you're signed up for 103 miles. What are you going to do? You're going to either spend the night out on the roads, on the gravel roads, or you're going to be smart. And
there were tons of DNFs. There were, and it was 40 degrees and raining the whole time. Jeez. So there were hypothermia issues. There was wind. Some of the muddy roads were just nasty. Because of the mud, there was flat tires and broken chains and broken spokes, and there was so much carnage out there. So that just it was probably one of the hardest days I've ever had on a bike, because it took me 7 hours to do that 103-mile course,
which is actually pretty fast.
And
that's really fast, Lance. Yeah.
I'm not sure. The results are still fluid, but I think I took 3rd overall in the Masters men over 45 in the long one.
Are there points for that one?
That's a big. People travel for that. That's a
is.
big regional race.
Yeah. But again, there weren't maybe 30 or 40 people actually finished it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that it ended up not being quite that big. But this was another thing, and this is a question for you guys. So it was so rainy and so muddy and so windy that with my glasses on, I couldn't see very well. Yeah. And so quickly, I took my glasses off, put them on my helmet, and I pretty much rode without any eye protection for 7 hours. And as the day progressed, my vision got worse and worse and worse. I got so much stuff in my eyes that everything went cloudy. It was like,
yeah.
I didn't know what to do. I mean,
were you getting a little nervous?
Yes. Yeah. I got really nervous because what ended up happening is the last 20 miles or so are downhill, and there's a 5-mile gravel descent, and I just bombed this gravel descent.
Lance, what are you doing, man? You're I can't.
I was so ready to be done with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I blew past some people, some guys. I scared some people because I was going so fast.
You're I can't see, but I'm.
I can't see, but I'm just going.
Come on, man.
I went out and pre-rode that difficult section earlier in the week, so I had some familiarity with it.
That's good.
And it was totally dry and beautiful, and I'm like, this race is going to be awesome. And then it was totally sucked. But the last 15 miles, I got in with a group of 5 guys on pavement, and we were just pace lining.
That's
fun. I had to put my glasses on because nobody had fenders, of course.
Yeah. So
and it was just spraying right in your face. And I literally I could barely see the tire in front of me. So it was really sketchy. And it came down to the very end, and there were 3 of us that were masters, and we didn't know we were all masters.
Oh, yeah.
And we didn't even sprint because
you're like, forget this. Let's just finish.
So I missed out on second place by like a tenth of a second because none of us sprinted at the end because we were just like, okay, we just need to be done.
Yeah.
So,
I wouldn't.
But it was
worry
crazy.
About that. Yep.
I got to the end. I was basically hypothermic. Most people were.
Yeah.
I ended up laying in my van for 3 hours trying to stop shivering, and I could not see. I couldn't see any writing on my phone. I couldn't see curbs or lines. I couldn't drive.
No.
And I had to drive like an hour and a half home from the Dalles.
Oh my Lord.
And I was like, okay, I'm gonna walk over to where the food is, and as I'm walking over there, I almost ran into some people because I didn't see them coming, and then I tripped on a curb, and I'm like, nope, I'm going back to my van until I can see.
We're going back to the van, and I'm gonna lay down.
It was.
Good thing you had your van there.
How's the vision now?
I'm okay now, but all last night I couldn't see.
And Lance is giddy today too.
I'm ready to go ride. Let's go.
God.
Jake hasn't ridden for a whole week. I think we need to go do 40 miles today.
Good God, Lance is like a machine right now. That's what is that? 10 hours of racing in the last 2 days?
I think so.
You need to sleep at some point.
I did sleep last night, so but
like a rock.
It was just a little crazy nuts that I had a pretty good run, a good start to the season. I got 4th in that road race and 2nd in the mountain bike race and 3rd in the gravel race. So
he's going to be upgrading like it's nobody's business here and everything.
It's great that you did well in these races. I am glad that you are okay. And
you
are joining us here on the podcast. You see where I'm getting at with that,
I
Lance?
do. I know.
Yeah.
I take some chances. It
just makes for exciting stories, but please don't go down out there.
There was a couple of big crazy descents, and after one of them there was like an 11-mile uphill climb, and the guys catch back out to me, and he's like, "Dude, you flew past me on that descent," and I'm like, "Descenting's all about a clear conscience."
And not being able to see your line.
So if I go down the descent,
you can
I've
see
lived
the
a good
danger.
life.
So
Yeah, this whole past week, I was kind of whining and moaning to my wife a little bit. I'm like, man, I gotta miss these races. I'm having fun with the family and all that. And I'll get into that just in just a minute. But I was whining and crying about that, and just thinking when I woke up yesterday morning, I'm like, yeah, they're all out there riding right now, having fun. Because I did the race last year and I loved it, and I was lamenting about how much I wanted to be out there, and then the race reports started to come in, and the Strava post started to post up, and pictures started to hit Facebook. I'm like, ooh, that was rough.
Yeah,
so,
not so jealous now.
Yeah. And then watching the mudslinger race, I just saw how muddy that was. Granted, it's only 5 miles of single tracks that were kind of muddy and sloppy.
Correct.
My shoulder probably
that would have been rough. Yeah.
It's good that I missed that because I didn't need to go down.
I only lost to Chris on that by 40 seconds.
Really?
I was right on his tail, and as we got to the final climb, I could see him, and I was trying to reel him in, but I was just cooked.
He knows exactly what's going on.
Oh,
he gets out there, and he's got that fighting spirit about him. He's paying attention, and he's like, haha, I got you out there. And he'll work as hard as you're working, and then he'll watch you sit up, and he'll sit up, and he just keeps that pace. So
I just loved it. It was great riding with him.
He's a great guy to race with.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's the most varied race report I think we've ever had. That's awesome. That's literally 3 different types of racing.
It was nasty.
Yeah.
It was rough.
Good job, Lance.
Thank you.
Lots and lots of team points too. The team appreciates that. So Evan gets to backpedal now, and we officially get to say that we are sitting at the table with a professional triathlete.
Yes.
Evan, backpedal for us.
Well, I am wearing a sweatshirt, and I am disheveled right now, I think is the word I'm going to use. I have an ear infection right now that has taken just about everything out of me in the last 24 hours since the race ended.
That's just what you want when you have to get on a plane and fly home from Texas
God.
to the Pacific Northwest. Man.
Any young child who has been on a plane and has cried from ear infections, I will never look at your parents mad again. Oh my gosh, that was terrible. Oh yeah, altitude and ear infections are rough, but yeah, this was yesterday was absolutely awesome. It was a brutally tough day, but a day that has been. It was really cool leading into the race because I was getting a lot of texts and messages from a lot of my friends who, and just the community back in Dayton, Ohio, that I had started triathlon with, and I kind of realized really I started this sport like almost 10 years ago now.
My gosh!
So it's been a long time coming, and there were people who I had confided in at that time saying like, yeah, I want to do the sport professionally at some point, long before I was even ballpark fast enough for that to be a reasonable thing to hope for. And it was cool for me to give them that they were, a couple of them were like parent figures to me too. So they just to be able to give back to them and say, like, this is what you guys did for me. And I, didn't peter out on the sport at some point and stuck with it. And it wasn't always pretty, and I've always told people I'm not a talented triathlete by any means, but it took me a decade, but finally got to a start line.
Are you like the Rudy of triathlon? Just
I would compare it to that because I am not talented. No.
Come on,
when I compare myself to guys I was towing the line with yesterday, just their resumes, and Matt knows this too. Like, my resume is not impressive.
But those guys have been pro for a long time, and it just takes time that you have.
It does.
This is your first race as a pro.
Yeah.
And there are different types of talent, and one type of talent is like being able to work hard consistently, and you've got that piece of the puzzle.
It's like the one part that I got. So
which
thank God I got that part.
Like if you were like, hey, I'm gonna race the 1 mile race, like I would be like, you might not have the talent to do it, but in triathlon, like you need that talent that's like, hey, I can go work. Like, and that's where you're talented.
Yeah.
So I think that you're lucky that you have that bit on lock.
Definitely. And I had never, and Matt knew this, I had never really been this confident going into a race before. Like I was nervous, but I had done enough fitness checks going into this, knowing that I was in shape that I don't think I'd ever seen before. I think on this podcast I talked about goals before this race for just my training, and I wanted to go under 115 and a half, which I went well under. I went 113.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I wanted my FTP to be 5, and it was very close. I think we had guesstimated my FTP was like 335, 340, but going into this race. And my swim, I wanted to go under 5 minutes in the 400 yard, which did not happen, but I was swimming okay going into it. So,
and these are goals for the end of the season.
Yeah.
And this is the first race of the
Very first race of the season.
So,
yeah. So I think I was confident because I was hitting what almost seemed like mid-season sort of fitness, like right off the bat here. So going into the race, I knew it was a fast field, but I was like, I actually think I can be around these guys. Yeah, around them. Funny story, race morning. So I will at the end talk about Cassie, my mother, and my father were the only reason that I'm not still in Galveston on the side of a road right now. Like, I mean, literally they are the only reason I actually completed that race. But so I'm very much a creature of habit for anybody who knows me. So when I got to the tent, the pro tent, they just send you over to and you get your packet stuff, but you still have to go and get your timing chip after that. So me, thrown off of my usual rhythm where you go through the line, you get your stuff, I'm over at this tent where they're like, oh yeah, we'll get you your stuff. And they go and grab my stuff and give it to me. I'm like, oh, I'm good to go. Walk out, hang out all day, relax. Later that evening, we eat dinner and I realize I don't have a timing chip. I was looking through the bag. I'm like, I don't have a timing chip.
So they do it differently for pros. They have you like go through and get your timing chip somewhere else.
It's at a completely separate table.
Okay.
So no,
okay.
You get your packet and everything. You still get your timing chip where everybody else does.
Okay.
I just bypassed that because I'm an idiot. So I have no timing chip.
That's why you got to do these races to learn a little
exactly.
how the process works.
So I go back to Ironman Village later that day. The guys are gone. They're like, don't worry, just get it in the morning. Morning comes, setting up transition, meeting some of the guys. I got to, see Starkowitz again, who his coach was a good family friend of ours. Oh, wow. Got to meet Matt Russell, who's an awesome guy. Feeling good. All right, let's go down, get the timing chip real quick. Putting on the wetsuit, getting everything ready. The woman tells me, timing chips aren't here yet, but the person's coming. Don't worry. We are 5 minutes away from me needing to get into the water to warm up.
Wow.
So 15 minutes, I kind of decided at that point, like Cassie and my mom were telling me they were stressing out more than I was at that point. Because at that point, I was like, she's on her way. It's fine. Like, it'll be okay. Just getting the wetsuit on.
That's what you're telling yourself.
I'm walking up towards the water, and this woman's like running up next to me and has the timing chip and just like hands it to me. Just put it on, jump in, warm up, completely forget about it by the time this starts. But that was
Personal concierge out there.
literally, I got the timing chip as I was walking up to go into the water.
Wow.
Yeah. For any triathlete listening, that's some stress right before your race right there. But yeah, so the swim is in this kind of protected area of the Gulf. Galveston's kind of a like an offshoot island. I wouldn't even know what to call Galveston.
Yeah, it is like
off
that.
of
It's
Houston.
like a long island.
Yeah,
or
and
whatever.
you're on the inland
Right.
portion of it swimming for this race.
Sort of protected.
Yeah, but it got choppy out there in the middle. Yeah,
I'm
not
jumping
like
ahead, but didn't they cancel the part of the race for the you guys.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
fast
they
people
did.
finished.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
they-
To fast forward to that, they did. There were a bunch of people who got stranded out on the course because a monster storm hit at like 2 p.m. So like I was in a restaurant eating by that point, but like people who were still out on the course got pulled off. I talked to somebody in the airport who got pulled off a quarter mile from the finish.
it's kind of one of those
That's
things like
terrible.
if
Yeah.
you're not going to finish in under probably 6 or 7 hours or something like that, they're just like
They're going
you're
to blow
done.
you off at that point. Yeah, and the finish line had blown over too. It was like it was a wreck there. But I mean, I feel for the race directors there because I've been in situations where I worked for a local race company, and when the weather
Could have
gets
been
bad,
worse though. I mean, there was
Yeah.
was it an Ironman? It was in it was in Africa. If I'm not mistaken, like South Africa. There was 2 people who died on the swim yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, at the African Championships yesterday.
Yeah, somebody went into convulsions, and another person they suspect had a heart attack.
Because I'm pretty sure
on the
that's an
swim.
ocean swim. That's a tough swim too. Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
reading about that last night, going, "Ooh, that's not good."
Yeah. There's been a couple of those in the last couple of years. It's just been tough swims. People having cardiac issues with them. I don't know. It's scary stuff.
It's
but
really scary.
It is.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. So we're lining up for the start, and I kind of in my head really was trying to play over like, okay, I'm gonna race with respect, but I'm not gonna respect anybody during this swim. Like if I end up next to somebody, I'm just gonna beat the crap out of them to get position, basically. Like that was literally my goal. I was
I'm
like,
so glad I don't
like-
race with you.
like I am not gonna lose feet here because my goal was like I want to make this chase pack. So race goes, and to be honest, it wasn't as brutally fast of a start as in my head I thought I was going to look up after 4 strokes and like Starkowitz was going to be like at the first buoy.
Yeah.
It like we were fighting in a group for a little bit, and then it started to separate.
Do you feel like you went out really hard?
I did, but I recovered really well. I think my swim training over the last couple months has really paid dividends.
Yeah.
Now I will say later in the swim I felt super fatigued, but that was because we were going hard from the start. And all of a sudden these 2 packs form, and I find myself at the front of the second pack, which to me I'm thinking everybody in that pack. I'm like, well, I'm sorry guys, I'm not bridging this gap. So looks like I'm our pacer. So I pace us all the way to the first buoy. Like I am pacing this second pack, which in my head I'm like, this is not right. Like there's no way that this is right.
Yeah, but if you're, mentally, if you're just like, well, this group will come by me at some
Yeah.
point and I'll hang,
Yeah. And this was so Pablo Gomez comes by
Okay.
me right at the buoy, decently strong swimmer. I mean, for this second group of guys,
Yeah.
decently strong swimmer, and he starts leading us down the entire back straight, which it gets choppy. During that back straight, Matt Russell, who was I'm going to get this wrong, he was top 10 at Kona this last year, so a bona fide racer,
legit.
very, very, very
he is,
fast.
He is an Ironman champion.
Yeah.
He has won Ironman races before.
Now, he is not a terribly strong swimmer for that level, so he was in our group, and he comes up next to me, and we start just elbowing each other in the head for the next probably 300 meters, just back and forth hitting each other. And we're both trying to get to Pablo's feet, and we had talked after the race. I think we both deterred each other from actually making it to his feet because we were both hitting each other so much.
It's just hammering each
And
other.
the people behind us were just letting us do this thing. So
They're like, great, look at this.
yeah, exactly. They're like
look at the
these-
wake.
Yeah, like perfect. There's just 2 guys right there, just slip right in. And it starts to get choppy. We lose Pablo's feet by not much. It was like by 10 feet. But here's a lesson I learned. That 10 feet's a big deal. You have to expend so much more energy if you're not on those feet.
It's like a draft on the bike, but times 700 or something. I don't know
Yeah,
what the-
but it's
Really?
harder to bridge the gap.
Well, I
It's-
don't know. That's not.
It's
really,
a little bit harder to, like, on the bike,
Yeah.
you can kind of get up, sprint real quick. It's hard in swimming to bridge like a 10-foot gap.
Can't accelerate as
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
If
But
you're not like a great pure swimmer.
So yeah, so water's so much thicker, so draft matters more. but you're going so much slower, so it doesn't balance out exactly. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it's weird.
It is comparable to some extent though, but I started to get tired on the swim and had to really work to keep that gap. So we get out of the water. I'm second out of this group of what I think we were like 6 guys or something.
really?
like that.
That's pretty. I
Yeah.
didn't realize you were. that
What
far
happened
up.
was I'm running, sprinting to catch up to Pablo, and I'm getting towards him, and I drop my goggles and cat. Turn around, have to go get that. Having trouble getting my sleeve off. So I thought I had had a terrible T1 by the time I got on the bike. Turns out my time was fine for T1.
2 minutes or something.
I was like 10 seconds behind everybody. But that 10 seconds, I lost the group of guys I should have stayed with.
Which I think is okay, and we've talked about
Yeah.
this before, but it's
Yeah.
like I think you're going to be happier biking on your own.
Yeah. And I was lucky enough to be the group of swimmers that came out. There were some really strong cyclists in there.
Yeah.
Matt Russell being one of them, Colin Lafferty being the other one. There were a couple really, really strong cyclists there. So it was a crosswind sort of ride. Tail crosswind on the way out, tail head on the way in, or crosshead on the way in. And basically it was like 22 miles just dead out to a turnaround and back. And not a lot of elevation change, if any. Basically a highway overpass. So you were just tucked in aero for as long as your brain could stand it. And for me, I basically told myself, like, my glutes were screaming at me at some point. I said, you got to bridge to somebody. Like, at some point, just catch somebody.
Just something.
So I was basically racing just to catch anybody at that point. And I think right after the turnaround, I brought in like 3 guys, like pretty decently close to session, and just blew by them. Like, I didn't want to play games and try and draft anybody. I was just trying to like race at that point.
Jeez.
But the whole field was separated because it was these crosswinds. So there wasn't really groups forming out there. And Starkowitz had blown up the front group. Like, when I was going out to the turnaround and saw Starkowitz, he was minutes ahead of the second group.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he was like,
That good.
he was putting out some work. And, you know, on the way back in, I started to realize I'm going to put down a really good bike time. I probably need to get myself under control.
Yep.
And then I saw a guy out in front of me who I'm going to be racing with through a lot of this day. And this was probably with 5-10 miles left. And that was, instead of resting at that point, I really started to dig to try to bridge to him. Maybe bridge to about 30 seconds, maybe going into transition. And I think at this point I was sitting either 14th or 15th. I'm not sure.
I thought you were 13th.
I may have been 13th at that point. Yeah. I knew I was close to the top 10. I knew I wasn't in the top 10. I knew I was in the conversation at that point.
And I thought, when I saw your swim, I was like, ooh, that's a slow swim. And then I started to think about it, and I was like, no, it's not. It's not at all.
Yeah.
It's like, that's whatever. That's probably 2 minutes faster than, you know, like it could have been, you know, a 30+ minute swim or whatever. It's just
on not a. I mean, you look at the top 73 guys these days are coming out in 22.
Yeah.
The top guys came out 24.
Right
there. So it was not the world's fastest swim by any means. It was a tough swim. The bike was definitely made for speed, but you had to hold the arrow. Like, I think that's what made that bike hard.
Couldn't move a whole lot. You're just down the whole time.
You're just down with your head down basically the whole time.
Yeah.
So coming off, my legs actually felt great. They really did.
You started running.
Yeah. Started running. And I was basically holding 5:48 pace, I think, through up to 4 miles, maybe drop to 6 flat till 10K.
Maybe because there was like some hills in there or something like that. But
There were.
basically,
Yeah.
you're holding that kind of 540 effort from what I could see. Because what I noticed was everyone else at the same mile also hit a slower mile, basically. Either that was 6:15 or 6:40 or whatever it was. So there's some hill there. So that's almost a wash.
And there was, just to give people an idea of this course, I think this was a new run course for this. This run course had 9 turnarounds total. And more turns than I'd even like to count. It was, you were either turning or turning around the entire run.
That might be good for you though, because you can accelerate. You can. I feel like you've got like interval sets in that you've done.
I do definitely have some springiness, but I think what was my problem was I was really trying to pace off the guy in front of me who actually put down one of the fastest runs of the day. And I closed at mile 6 or 7 to about 10 seconds off of him. Like I was close. And we were battling with a couple other guys who were really close to us too. And then, I mean, anybody who's watching my splits knows mile, I think 8 came around and the lights went out. And it was not like a slow process. It was like all of a sudden, okay, there's nothing. And it was not muscular. It wasn't cramping. It was like my brain didn't want to tell my legs to move much more. So I don't think it was nutrition or anything like that. It was talking with some guys after. I think it was the amount of humidity in the air at that point. I think for those of us that had not been training in humidity, it really paid. We had to pay a price at some point in that race.
Just to speak to that, I mean, do you think this ear infection you have is an isolated thing, or do you think there might be more to that?
I don't know.
Like maybe you're getting sick. I mean, that very well could have dictated that how that race finished up for you, and it could have changed your overall race ability as well.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody here knows like when you're tapering for something, like you're always walking that fine line of like being sick and not being sick.
Yep.
I think for me it came down to I know I have better run fitness than 124 by a lot.
Oh yeah.
I know I do. The dynamics of how that race played out were tough because if you look at the really fast guys, they also ran slower.
It looked to me like you were running a 117 or maybe like 117 mid type race, and then you fell apart.
Yeah.
Which is honestly, it's just like it seems to me like first race as a pro, and it should be the first couple races as a pro.
Yeah.
Like you should have horrible races. Like these are things that you just expect, like normal behavior for someone that's, first year pro is just basically to have a bad year.
Yeah.
And you didn't. Like you had a PR for that race, right? Like it's crazy.
By 5 minutes, which at this point, once you're under 410, like a 5 minute PR is a pretty big PR. Like that was
fantastic.
That was a big PR for me. So even though those last miles were so hard, I wasn't even mad at myself as we were going, hitting that last 5K. I basically told myself, I was like, you just got to keep it under 8 pace. At this point, I was like, you just got to survive these last bit.
Yep.
And that was, places 10 to 15 I had seen throughout the race.
Yeah.
I know I'm at the fitness where I can be close to those guys. And it was kind of validation for me saying like, I'm not beating these guys yet, but I'm at that level. Like I'm not out of my league here.
Yeah,
but
we were texting back and forth, and I was like, it looks good for like top 10 because I knew your run fitness was good, and I knew there's a good chance that you could hold 540s, 545s, and then that would have been top 10 probably.
Yeah.
So and it's good that you didn't absolutely crush it because like where do you go from there? Like I feel like you need to have a couple rough races, but still.
No, I agree. I think
cool.
I learned a lot from I wouldn't say I learned as much as I did from St. George last year from this one, but I definitely learned a lot from this one into what I need to train like what the train needs to look like to be able to race at that level.
Fill us in, some of our listeners and your fans that also are sitting at this table. What kind of changes do you think you might make to training?
So with my training, I think I'm going to become a lot more focused on putting together longer bike intervals followed by much more like interval tempo-y sort of running. So definitely going to toss in a couple like 30-minute, hour-long solid bike efforts. And I'm not going like race effort for 30 minutes to an hour. I'm just putting fatigue in the legs for that long and then going out and doing my over-under runs. Okay. So that I'm starting to simulate more that it's hard in those pro races to just race your own race like we talked about. Yep. When that run dynamic starts to go, the guy who was in front of me and Pablo Gomez, we were trading spots for a little bit.
Yeah.
And that was Sergi sort of running. It really was because you don't want to slow down when you pass somebody because these guys are strong enough. They're gonna if you don't put the dagger in, they're gonna race you.
Absolutely.
So it's not this like, all right, I'm gonna hold my goal pace here. No, it's you go with the race and you happen to, if you have the energy, you glance at your watch. But yeah, so I think training more like that sort of race reflection style is going to be important.
Did you know anybody in the field prior to yesterday?
There were a couple guys who I had raced when I was younger that was there, which was really cool actually just to see a couple of them, how they've progressed.
Yeah. Did they remember you?
So Starkwitz had remembered me just because, I had known Bob and worked in the shop. Let me think. Clay knew me through Nate. Real quick, shout out to Clay, who's an Everyman Jack guy who took his pro card this year for the second time. He had his pro card back in 2014.
Yeah.
He was 5th yesterday.
Oh, wow.
This is a man with 2 kids, full-time job. He's been racing for years and years. Like anybody in triathlon knows, like this guy is I would call him, he at one point was the best amateur in the world. Yeah. I'd probably put that against anybody. He had the fastest run split yesterday.
Wow. What did he run?
He ran 1:15 low.
Okay.
He outran Matt Russell there and Matt Hansen.
Yeah.
Which are the two best American 73 runners, I would say. Those two are. Now you got to throw Clay's name
Definitely
into
Matt
there.
Hansen.
Matt Russell's up there on the marathon.
Yeah, in a marathon?
In
Absolutely.
a
I
marathon,
agree.
Matt Russell's there.
And
that is,
yeah.
I mean, that's rarefied air. Clay's training like 16, 17 hours a week, I think, with like a job and kids. The guy is like, anybody who's like a parent and family man should look at him and be like, that is an inspiration right there. That guy's incredible. And on that course, too, it was amazing that run split. He basically ran himself into almost a podium spot. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Fantastic.
How's the etiquette out there?
It's actually friendlier than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah?
I thought it was going to be cutthroat, but like before the race, we're just like chit chat and everybody's training pumps, back and forth.
Uh-huh.
Clay, both of his tires blew.
Oh, no.
Like while he's in transition, both of his tires blew. So like people are helping him out. I think a lot of these guys have raced each other for so long too. There's like this camaraderie about it.
Yeah.
A lot like in cycling. I mean, in
Yeah,
cycling,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
racing each other every week, and
Right.
there's camaraderie there. And I think it's that way because I think everybody realizes. I knew the race was going to be hard. I did not know how hard these races are.
Gotcha.
Like, if you do 5 of those in a year, I don't know how you get through the whole year. Like
Really?
that's yeah.
It's a big load.
It is. It was a big load. There's a lot of stress going into the race because everybody's going in with A fitness. Like nobody goes into these races with B fitness unless you're the guy going to Kona who can afford a B race.
When
Yeah.
you finished yesterday,
Yeah.
like let's say you're 30 minutes, hour removed from the race.
Yeah.
What were your general feelings? I know that you started to you had to regroup and all that other stuff. And you were
Yeah.
like shellacked and all that.
We'll
fun
say
stuff.
30 minutes
But,
after.
I mean, were you like, oh my God, I don't know if I want to do this. This is going to be so flipping hard to try and keep up with these guys. Or were you kind of pumped and jacked for the next race because you want to go out there and do it again?
I think what helped me there is that I had one worry going into the race, that my bike fitness wasn't as good as I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
That was my biggest fear. If I had gone out there and got shellacked on the bike, I would have had a completely different feeling afterwards.
Yeah.
I know I can stay with that last swim group. I know I can bike strong, and I know my run fitness is a whole lot better than what I showed.
Uh-huh.
So I think that just keeping all that in mind, I got to the end there and I was like, okay, I'm standing around guys who only finished a little bit ahead of me. I think I'm able to like.
So you
hang
started
here.
crunching numbers. I could pick up a few minutes here, a couple
Yeah.
seconds there.
I was more
dial this
crunching
in.
numbers. It wasn't
Yeah.
feelings. It was more like numbers is what I was
Yeah.
crunching. And once I was able to crunch those numbers, I was like, I think I can go under 4 this year.
Yeah.
On the right course.
That's what I saw too,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, he's ready to break 4 now. Like he's ready right now.
Yeah.
And
If I'd gone like
and there's
4:10 there, I'd be looking at that and be like, this isn't the year.
I
But
think
yeah.
your assessment is correct. If you had gotten in that race and just gotten destroyed on the bike,
Yeah.
then it's like it's one of those like let's say like for me, right, where you just can't bike with legit bikers, where it's just like you don't belong there. Like that's the situation.
Yeah.
But like
the bike
that
is
was-
so important in 73 too.
oh my
I definitely
gosh.
realized that
It's just-
yesterday.
It's
so
just
important.
The way I look at it is like it's important in triathlon.
Yeah.
It's like
It is.
swimming, not so much. Running, absolutely. Biking, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which you're there. So,
Yeah.
it should be a huge confidence booster for sure.
It was just and it was just cool getting to race it. I mean, like it
Best
was
in the world.
Yeah. I mean, it was racing like Matt Russell and Andrew Starkwitz and Matt Hansen is kind of a giddy experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As somebody who's been
Yeah.
like a fan of the sport for a long time. And not that I'm I mean, there were 2 races going on.
Sure.
There was the Andrew, Matt, and Matt show, and there was the rest of us. But that's, I mean, with any endurance event, you're going to get that. There's the guys who are just head and shoulders above. But just being able to like go off at the same time as them was a really, really cool sensation.
You're in the same ballpark, my friend. You're there.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Kudos
and
to
we
you, man.
all followed your race and we're cheering along and we're just your biggest fans, man.
Yeah.
I mean, just like, anyone else. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun watching all the social media stuff pop up yesterday too. I mean, I don't get on social media too much, but every time I would open something up just to go check something real quick, there's a post there of somebody like giving you like some kudos or posting a picture talking about what's going on with you.
This whole dial community is awesome. I'll tell you what, I don't think there are many racers my age in their first year of pros out there that have this much people just like giving you support in every way.
Oh, that's
I
good.
mean, I feel incredibly lucky. I really do.
Fantastic.
Well, kudos to you, my friend.
Yes.
Thank you guys.
Well done.
Super
Well
Proud
done.
of you.
So we're 52 minutes into our back pedal. Matt, it's your
I was
turn.
about to say,
Let me make mine
Topic,
quick.
Matt. You gotta go 30 minutes
Yeah,
now.
I had like sick kids for like a little bit of time, and then we had spring break. We went skiing for spring break. I haven't trained much at all. It's been bad. So this week, Jake can follow up on the spring break. But yeah, so this week I gotta just get back in the groove, and I think we'll do that. And yeah, sorry, fast back pedal, go. Jake.
Nice. Matt went
under-
whopping 30
under a
seconds
minute?
there.
That was impressive. Yeah, Matt wins today.
My spring break back pedal is what I'm going to call because it wasn't anything race related. We took some time for the family, and I left. What was it? A week ago Saturday, and left my bike at home, which that was paining me going down to beautiful weather.
Yeah, that's
and
tough.
friends that are down there with bikes, and seeing them posting stuff up on Strava. I'm like, man, I could have brought my bike and gone on that. I could have done that. I could have done that. Nope. We went down there. We hung out with some friends, did the whole family thing, went to Disneyland, and I did PR Disneyland and I did PR California Adventure.
How many steps? How many steps do you know?
I used my little Garmin watch, and I pushed start on it like I was going to go do a run, and it tracked all day long.
Yeah.
At California Adventure was a little over 15 miles
Oh my God.
the first day.
Was it like 25,000 steps? 24,000
Whatever it is. But we started at 7 o'clock in the morning because we had the early entrance into the park, and we beelined it over there to the Cars Land to get on the whatever that ride is called, the Cars ride, whatever that is.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Just Radiator
Move on,
Springs.
Jake. Radiator Springs. There you go. Move
Thank
on,
you,
Jake.
Lance. Yeah.
And then it was just we started at 7 o'clock in the morning, and we didn't get back to the hotel until 9 o'clock at night. So that's a big day of walking, especially with three
Hell
little
of a
kids.
workout.
Yeah.
Hell of a workout.
My kids all did great too. I mean, they weren't crying or complaining about being tired. Whatnot. I mean, you would stop and eat and all that stuff. But so that was day one, and I barely made it through that. My ankle was really not feeling
That was
happy.
going to be my second question.
So,
yeah.
I'm still dealing, and we haven't really talked about it on this podcast much, but Evan and I have talked about it because he's my physical therapist, and I'm looking down the barrel of having to potentially have another surgery on my ankle, which isn't looking pretty. We're trying to look at some alternatives right now, but long story short, the cartilage damage that's in there and the other stuff that's problematic in there with the little bone fragments floating around was really causing it to flare up. So I was, trying to rest it and ice it and stretch it and all that other stuff as best as I could, knowing that the next day was Disneyland, and that's a bigger park and there's more stuff to do there.
I had to taper for that.
Oh my God. So we went and sat in the spa that night, and I tried to get myself, equaled out as much as I could. And we got up bright and early the next morning, went over to Disneyland, and it was just shy of 21 miles, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh my gosh.
That would be like a legit hiking trip.
Yeah.
Like a very legit hiking trip. Yeah.
Kudos to Disneyland. It's gotten better there with respect to the rides. They've got this new thing called Max Pass, and here we are talking about Disneyland on a cycling podcast. But
Hey, this is important. Yeah.
anyway, they've got this thing. You have to pay an extra $15 a head. Yeah, it's Disneyland taking more bucks out of you, but you actually can use your cell phone to be like the fast pass thing. So you can, as soon as you get into the park, you can select which ride you want to get on, and it gives you a time window of when to come back and use your thing. And as soon as you check in with your cell phone, you can put in the next one. So we had, throughout the course of the day, we had a fast pass all day long. You don't have to go over there to get it. You register for it while you're waiting in line for the ride that you're currently using. And then in between those two rides, you'll go and you'll plug into a couple different rides that are in between, getting from point A to point B. And on this little app that they have, it tells you exactly how long the waits are. And they were pretty accurate. I was quite surprised. So you can really be efficient with how you go about getting on all of your rides. It was spring break. This park was packed, but you never really felt like you waited in lines for too long. I mean, I think, honestly, the longest we waited was
spring
about
break
30
for you
minutes.
guys. Yeah.
It was 30 minutes with the exception of one ride that was off.
Yeah.
They said it was a 30-minute wait and it ended up being an hour wait and was totally a waste of time, that stupid Dumbo ride. But my littlest wanted to go on it, so we all kind of sucked it up and did it for her. But we went on everything in the course of a day when the park was at, not capacity, but it was pretty freaking full. So
That's crazy.
yeah,
That's a cool
It
app.
was fun.
That's a tough
Speaking of
workout.
Disneyland,
Kudos to Disney. Yeah.
both of my daughters have been hired to work at Disney World for the fall semester.
That is awesome.
So both Kelty and Darby are going to spend September through January down at Disney World in
First
Orlando,
of all,
Florida.
the two of them together are going to have a blast.
They are going to have a blast.
Second of all, your family's going to spend some time down there.
Yes, we are. And Kelty, my oldest daughter, she got hired as a character.
Really?
Yes.
Which character? I can't remember.
They don't tell you till you get there.
Oh.
But
Does she have an idea?
Yeah, not really. She could be like a number of 8 different characters or something.
Huh.
So
Wow.
they're super excited.
That's pretty cool.
So
That's really cool.
Disney World for this family.
Yeah, you be careful when you go down there. Last time you went
I
down,
blew apart.
that's when your back really fell apart.
That is correct.
Yeah.
I want to hang out away from some of the rides.
So, and then the rest of my week was pretty cool. We went down to Palm Springs, hung out in the sun. It was like 82 degrees every single day. Absolutely gorgeous. And we did a family trip up through Joshua Tree, which was spectacular.
So you did a lot
Saw
of
the
hiking,
pictures,
a lot of
yeah.
walking, no biking.
Zero biking.
Okay.
I was 9 days off the bike,
Wow.
which was super hard. But I got a lot of walking in, got exercise, and tried to eat, relatively well. Joshua Tree, I mean, we just did like little mini hikes. I mean, it was like really short because when you drive through there, it's a big, huge park. But you stop at all the different exhibits. You drive from one to the next and the next, and you get out and you go like poke around and hike and climb on stuff. And that place, I took my camera down there. Any direction you point your camera and you just push the button to take a picture, you get a fantastic photo.
Amazing.
I've got so many photos. I've been editing them now for a day and a half, and I'm still not. I'm like maybe 70% done. So I'm hopefully going to have some time later tonight after everybody goes to bed to finish doing that, and I'll post some stuff up. But absolutely gorgeous, spectacular. Matt, I will be making a very killer movie for the trip as well. So I'll be posting that up. That'll be my little maiden
voyage
in the video editing land. So that should turn out pretty fun.
Nice.
So anyway, that was my back pedal. I'm back in action, looking forward to getting some rides in and feeling like a big fat slob. I sat on the trainer yesterday for about 32 miles. I'm like, that was awful. That was just terrible. I felt awful the entire time, but I don't know. One foot in front of the other.
We'll just wait for a decent break in the weather, and we'll start to come around.
Yeah, we got hammered by a storm.
Yeah, we did.
Pretty good. So
What's the weather look like?
And it's not. There's no like end in
It's
sight
raining
for the
all
rain.
week.
Yeah.
All
right.
I know now.
So I could ramble on here for another 20 seconds and try and make this an even hour for our back pedal. But we're gonna get to the 1 hour mark, which is a nice little segue for the 1 year mark of the Dial podcast. We've been doing this for a year, boys.
One
I can't believe
year.
Yeah,
One
that surprises me.
Year, and we have not missed a week. We have put something out every single week for a year.
Man.
That's largely in part due to you, Jake. So congratulations
Jake, yeah.
to you.
Well,
I know it's a team effort, and I absolutely agree, a team effort. But the majority of the work, has been in your lap. And
you know what?
And we appreciate it.
I wouldn't trade that for anything. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I think the experience that I've had out of this is like invaluable. Just the time that I get to have with you guys every week is just fantastic. We always joke like this is the best part of the week, right?
Yeah.
It's true.
It is awesome. So, and it's funny too when we all go out on a ride together. And, like people will start like making little pokes and comments about, "Hey, it's the Dial podcast, guys. Where's your microphones?
Yeah.
What are you guys going to talk about now?"
I love getting made fun of for the stuff that I say on here.
Yeah.
Like it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like I'm glad that people know I'm scared of sea lions now. Like it is really funny. Like that's.
We definitely are a little too open on this podcast.
Yeah,
Yes.
I like that though.
I have yet to roll into a starting line and not hear
Lance
a
Romance.
Lance Romance.
Yes.
All right, so let's get into this real quick. I don't even know if we're going to have time for our true topic, but I want to talk about this because it is kind of special. To get to that 1 year mark, I think it's a pretty monumental accomplishment, knowing that we didn't really have any hiccups along the way. Even sitting in a freaking hospital bed in the hospital, making sure that the stupid things get posted. I mean, that happens. So, or gallivanting around the world, making sure that you're calling in for that hour and change to talk. I mean,
Even if I get cut
Literally
off.
on a beach. Literally on a beach.
Literally on a beach.
So I just wanted to kind of run around the table real quick. Let's review some of your guys' favorite moments, maybe some of your favorite episodes, and what you're excited about as we move forward. Do you guys want to share anything? Does anybody have a favorite moment that they want to share?
I've got a favorite episode for sure.
Bring it.
When we did the Kona takeover, that was fun.
Oh, that was awesome.
I love that. That was. I've always
That was
had
my
this
least
like
favorite one.
I know. That's like
know
two
what?
people. That's the favorite, and two people. That's by far the least favorite.
And I've had other people come up to me and be like, "That was my favorite episode."
Yeah.
Because
Only triathletes. Yeah.
only triathletes, but still.
And
But
you guys
like,
kind of got a little bit more when we had Taryn in. Triathlon Taryn,
Yeah,
like,
total-
another
another
triathlon takeover.
That was going to be the other one for me. Was actually getting
was good, yeah.
to have Taryn on the
Yeah.
podcast was awesome. Yeah.
we've had really good guests, I
Yes.
think. And
Yes.
I think
Local guests,
yeah,
good
really
national
great,
guests, yeah.
like really good guests for sure. And I think as I look in the crystal ball, it seems to me like we can get good guests on the podcast. Like there's enough people listening to the podcast. There's enough, I feel like, of a following that we can start to kind of recruit some really solid guests when we want to. And man, the guests we've had so far have just been, not only are they like popular and blah, 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 that's great, but like they also hold their own on the podcast. They hold a good conversation. They're excellent on the podcast. I think Meredith was really, really good. Meredith
yeah.
Atwood.
She was solid.
She was
great.
great. She was hilarious. Triathlon Taryn was so good. Like we've had some great guests on the podcast.
Our boy Justin Wagner's another good one.
Yeah, I like Justin a lot.
He's almost like
Justin was the best with banter back and forth.
I think it's almost time to have him back on.
I think
again.
it is.
Yeah.
absolutely. He should. Yeah, we should
I think-
circle him in as many times.
Going
as we
into year
possibly
2,
can.
he's climbing up the list
he's
as
so
number
good.
1 to come back. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also love it when it's like just the 4 of us. Like today, I just feel like it's the conversation never has a little bit of a lull. I just never see that, and it's just like Lance is always laughing. It's always fun. Like the 4 of us for sure is super enjoyable. I don't feel like we have to have a topic. I don't feel like we have to have a
And now
guest. I
for the
don't feel
next
like
like 6 months, we're just gonna have race recaps. Which like
Yes.
if I was just to pick like favorite moments, it's always just the race recaps.
Those are fun.
I just love hearing I love hearing Lance's recaps.
Yeah.
I love when me and
It's-
Matt get to talk about a race we were actually at together.
yeah.
And it's hard, right? Because it's like, Evan or Lance or whatever, they race, and I want to know their results right away. But I also want to learn about their results through the podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's always that challenge of like, I want to know so much, but like, please just wait 1 second. I guess I can wait until Monday or when we record these. So.
That's good. How about you, Lance? What do you...
One of my favorite episodes was number 30, where we talked about funny cycling stories and triathlon stories. I, of course, I'm a bit of a jokester. It's hard for me to take anything serious. So for me to tell funny stories or hear you guys' funny stories is just fantastic. But, great moments for me have been just getting to know you guys better and really enjoying the camaraderie and just knowing that you're really good people and that we can make each other better just by being around each other.
I met you the first day that you
That's
came
correct.
in. I don't think I'd met Lance yet.
I'm
I'm
pretty
pretty sure I hadn't.
I knew Lance before the podcast, but I remember when he came on the podcast the first time, I was significantly quieter because I was like, "There's this guy across the table from me," and I was like, "I don't know him that well," and I just remember thinking to myself like. I remember thinking like I'm not going to joke around as much, and then I was like that's unfortunate. Like I feel like I'm being more shy because Lance is on across the table, and now oh my gosh,
It's full on.
It's the exact opposite. I'm like, oh wait, is Lance here? Oh,
It's like a vortex
It's time
of
to cut
not
off.
seriousness. Yeah.
It's like clown time. Like let the zoob is
Lance, don't crawl through your puke.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Things have changed.
Yeah. I've really loved the feedback that we've gotten from the community on a whole. And what really makes me happy is when I get those messages or that note or that text or that email that we've inspired somebody to get back on the bike. We've inspired somebody to try a race. We've inspired someone to go out and pull somebody into the sport and get them, passionate about what it is that we all love doing, whether it be triathlon or cycling.
Yeah.
That part has been great. And I've actually heard a few stories about some women that are actually listening to the podcast, and it has helped inspire them to get on bikes. And same thing with juniors, to know that if we did all of that work just to get like a small handful of women and juniors on bikes,
that's
I would
awesome.
do it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I would do it.
I'd do it for a
of-
whole another year. Yep.
and
Absolutely.
then some. Yeah, just keep
Yeah.
going. So that part is like that's near and dear to me, and for me to know that this is helping build community, and that's one thing that I'm super passionate about. I absolutely love this, and I will keep doing this until people just absolutely don't want to listen, and I might just do it.
And even then, I would still cut like if there were 5 listeners, I'd probably still come in and talk to you guys. all day. Yeah. That's,
It blows my mind too that there are people. I think the last time I counted, it's 24 different countries that people have listened to this podcast. That blows my mind.
That's crazy.
And to see
That's
that people
so
are like
funny.
actively listening in places like
Iceland. Didn't we have an Iceland
Yeah,
listener?
Iceland, Sweden,
Who in
France.
Iceland is like
I'm huge in Australia.
Exactly.
yeah, like 24 countries you're huge in now.
All those people out there listening, that is fantastic, and we really appreciate that. So
Yeah.
I'll keep rambling on here. One of my favorite episodes, probably because it was just so therapeutic, was the one that we had right after Michael Myers passed.
True.
Yeah.
There
Yes.
were a lot of
Yes.
people who listened to that and were thankful for that, and it was therapeutic for me because Michael was really a dear friend, and to be able to sit down with you guys and be close to friends during that time. And try and figure out all these feelings that we had, and having people kind of go through that process of like trying to heal and kind of wrap our heads around what happened. That was a special episode for me, and that's one that I'll probably, when we're all gone and not doing this anymore, whoever knows when that will be, I'll still have that MP3 file, and I'll probably still listen it from time to time on November 8th, just to commemorate him. I think that was That was a special episode.
I remember we had the text conversation whether we should even record that day or not because we were all feeling the loss very strong, and I'm certainly glad we did. It was, I think, very therapeutic for us and for our listeners and to understand who he was and how much he did for all of us. So
absolutely.
And I will say I love how since that day he's been brought up again and again. And I think that's what I love about this community is it's not this taboo thing to talk about Mike. When somebody breaks away in the middle of a group ride and goes away, somebody still says you're just pulling a mic right now, or somebody's still on the front for 30 minutes of a group ride and hammers everybody. That's pulling a mic. And
what would Michael do?
Exactly. And I'm sure this race season we're going to get more and more stories from people making those references all the time. And that's the impact that guy had is he's literally a verb, a noun, and an adjective.
Exactly. Lance isn't too far behind him in that category.
Yeah, I was going to say.
We'll finally be getting our Castelli custom order in this week. They're so late getting that to us. I don't want to grumble too much. And all the other people grumbling out there with you, I'll grumble with you later at another time. But on the kit, as you guys all have seen, but I'll tell it to the listeners out there who don't know, the left armband is solid black, and we've got the MM 542. So that is Michael Myers, and that's his race number 542, and we will have that on our kits for this year to remember him. And I think that the MM 542 will basically be a permanent mainstay on our kits moving into the future, because the guy, he meant a lot to me, he meant a lot to this team, and I think that he was part of the soul of what helped bring it together. So anything else you guys got out there to share about the old podcast?
That's a good one to end it on, because looking back, that really was one of our favorites. As a group.
Well, it's been a pleasure, and I will continue to look forward to putting this together every week. I'm still I don't know if anybody picked up on this. I'm sure you guys have noticed, but when you listen to the bumpers, which is the beginning and the end, we've got our standard music that will start the very first couple seconds of the show, and then it'll transition to some other stuff and some little sound bites. But I think I went and counted, I think that it's been 30 weeks in a row of some sort of bicycle related song that I've been able to dredge up from.
How long do you think you can keep that going?
I don't know.
We should see how long that streak can go.
That's
too funny.
When it changes, I'll make sure to make a note in that bumper. But seriously, like 30 weeks in a row.
I can think of like 3 bike related songs.
Yeah.
They're brilliant. Last week's was hilarious.
That's so awesome. I love it.
So
I do very much look forward to the bumper every single time, because Jake keeps it so fresh. It's very funny.
I don't have to listen to the whole podcast, but I got to listen to that first part.
Yeah. It's like, okay, I'm gonna listen later, but first let me listen to the first 20 seconds.
Yeah. They're fun to make, and I just I sit here and giggle, and like when I first started doing them, I was trying to like structure it out what it was going to be.
You were like a little bit stressed about it.
And no joke, there was a couple of times it took me like 3 or 4 hours to put together like 15 seconds worth of not 15 seconds, about a minute and 50 or 30 seconds of stuff. And now it's just like, all right, I kind of have an idea. I know what we talked about. I try and integrate in some theme stuff into that with the little sound bites, but the music has been making it a lot easier and funner for me. But it only takes me now, thinking maybe an hour-ish, depending upon how difficult times are to find stuff. But anyway, it's all fun. So cool. All right. We do have some time if we want to move on to this next topic. We don't have to get into too much depth, and maybe
we can try to make it quick.
We can try to make it quick, and maybe there's one in particular that we can talk a little bit more about, or maybe we can parlay it into another show.
Yeah,
if it's really
that's
hot.
true. If someone brings in a topic and it's like, we can do a whole show
hot
on this.
Topic
That'd be cool, because then we
scene.
could allude to a future podcast, which is nice.
That's good.
I've got a
game planning this here.
I've got a funny one in triathlon. That I want some opinions on.
Okay. On that note, press pause. Our topic for today is we are each going to share a controversial opinion regarding cycling or triathlon. Evan, go.
So I'm not sure if this falls purely into opinion, but Ironman, I think it was actually last year this rule started. I may need to be corrected on this, but I think it was last year this rule started. In Ironman racing now, you are not allowed to zip down your zipper all the way.
That's
actually
2 years old or something.
The rule of the law, I think, is past your breastbone.
Yeah.
So, at the pro meeting on Saturday.
Oh yeah, you broke that rule, didn't you?
So I did. So I didn't technically break the rule by what the meeting had said. There's some controversy in this rule because it's not being enforced evenly. So what's happening is they during this meeting brought up what's now called the zipper rule and has been causing apparently a lot of issues, and that like the pros absolutely hate it. And last year it was not followed like at all. Like people were still just racing fully unzipped. Daniela Reef did all of Kona basically unzipped because her zipper
Can't
broke.
disqualify her.
No,
She's like-
and that's what they're saying is it's hot and humid. Who cares? And
what's the point?
So
I have no
Is it
idea.
a gender thing?
Yeah, I think so. It's like female. They don't want females basically like racing with their chest open.
But
and then
aren't they wearing sports bras?
yes, they are. But I think it's more like age groupers are wearing all kinds of stuff underneath or whatever. And so and then they were like, okay, well, we can't have a rule for females without having something similar for males. And so like that's just the line that they drew.
Yeah. You can imagine this drew.
Come on.
There were some groans during the meeting. And by groans, I mean, so they basically said you get a yellow card if you infringe this rule.
Yeah.
Now, how they explained it at first was the rule for this season is you cannot unzip it all the way, which means as long as it is still zipped, you're okay. That was what they said
So
during the meeting.
You zip it up 1 inch and you're okay.
You're fine, as long as it's not unzipped. Now,
That's weird.
what they said is that if they catch you with that, they're going to yellow card you. What a yellow card is a 30-second penalty. But the guy said you don't need to stop. You can just keep on running.
You serve it at the end, basically.
No, you just keep running.
Okay.
So Starkowitz obviously raises his hand, asks a completely reasonable question, and says, that doesn't make any sense. Yellow card means 30 seconds. And now there's this question between the two guys trying to explain the rule, and they're not even agreeing on it all of a sudden. One guy said one thing, and the other guy said the other.
Right.
And the other guy was like, no, you don't need to stop. Just as long. They after about a 5-minute discussion, came down to this. Don't be a jerk to us about it, and as long as you zip up, you're fine.
Yeah.
That was what it came down to. So
when we catch you, too
just
far
don't be a
unzipped.
jerk. He literally said, just don't tell me to go myself. Is all he said. He was like, as long as you don't do that, you're fine.
So-
just zip up.
In the real, I think it really comes down to like, hey, they want to have a rule on the books,
Yes.
so that age groupers, not necessarily. I
get
don't
up
think
in
they
a
care that
hissy
much about
about
the
it.
pros
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, hey, there's the rule. You guys should follow this rule.
Yeah.
Especially, if you're an age grouper or whatever
So
it is.
here's where the rule wasn't even being enforced correctly. I come off the bike. I even consciously in my head think, all right, I have to zip this thing far enough down that it's still zipped.
Right.
So I go down roughly mid-stomach area. I don't know, not that low. Mid-stomach area. Running quarter mile in. Official on the side goes, zip up, zip up. At that point, I obviously was not going to argue. I just
And you were
immediately
like,
zipped up.
Go F yourself.
Yeah. And then unzipped all the way and just
That's
took
right.
off my clothes and ran. But yeah. No, so going into Chattanooga this
Evan's
next race.
naked again.
Yeah, the Chattanooga race, I have no idea what the rule is. No clue.
Yeah.
I don't think
it's
anybody
like,
does.
It's,
Chest.
chest. Yeah.
Chest. Now, they did say you have to be fully zipped when you cross the finish line, and there were
really?
tons of guys who were not fully zipped coming across the finish line. So,
I remember reading that rule and thinking about it in Arizona or whatever, because it's like, what happens? Do you like
who is mentally there enough at a finish line who's not like winning the race?
And I'll tell you the answer to that. Another age grouper who you beat or whatever, or took his Kona slot or something like that, will raise a fuss and be like,
Oh,
this
God.
person broke
I
the
hope
rules.
it doesn't become that.
Well, here's the thing. It's like, I've seen people that have lost Kona slots because they took a chapstick from their
Yep.
wife,
Yep.
right? Like that happened. And that like, even like the wife put chapstick down on the ground and he grabbed it and picked it up. Like
I'm
there's like,
fine with that though, because the spirit of the sport is it is an independent sport.
Yeah.
That is technically outside help.
okay. This is not outside
The
help when you
zipper.
zip
I mean,
your
what
thing
is
down.
this? Yeah. What are we
But-
talking aesthetics? Like this is a
but-
sport people used to race Speedos.
But if this is if this is the rule though, then you kind of have
You
to
do have
say-
to follow it.
Can you
But
still wear a Speedo out there? I know that you wouldn't, but can you?
You can. Colin Lafferty raced in a Speedo.
Can you
which
wear
is fine, but you have to have so
He had to wear a top that zipped
You
up
have
all the
to
way.
wear a top.
But he was wearing a Speedo.
What if you wore
more
like
power
a thong
to him.
Speedo out there just
so
to piss
much
him off?
power to him. Colin's the man. That was awesome to see him racing a Speedo.
You don't want to see my navel, but check
Yes,
this out.
exactly. Yeah. Don't worry, it zipped up all the way.
there was some pro guy, and I can't remember what his name was, but he always was in the
Ferris
top.
Al-Sultan.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's coaching now, I think.
Yeah, he is.
And
Yeah, he was a legend, yeah.
He is a legend, absolutely. Always Speedo. always in the top 10 at Kona.
Yeah.
Like just
he won
just-
once too, didn't he?
I don't think
He was
so.
close. I think he was. Oh, he may have been like second one year.
Yeah.
He's
But-
like one of the greatest to never win it. Yeah,
yeah,
he was right
absolutely.
there though.
He
Yeah.
won once.
Did he win once? What year?
Wrong.
I don't know.
Lance wrong.
Ooh.
But I'm just I'm
There's
my
no missions.
own, here's
Here we
my
go.
own controversy right now.
There's no missions.
Let's
Ferris
bet,
Sultan.
sparkling water on it.
I think I remember him drinking the giant Erdinger beer. Maybe that was because it was
Roth.
Ironman Germany.
That may have been Roth. Yeah.
I'm gonna shut up now.
All right, Matt, do you have a controversial statement that you would like to make or an opinion?
Controversial opinion.
Yes.
It is my opinion that race directors should lie to all of their participants and tell them that there's going to be drug testing at the race.
Yes.
And they should make it extreme, like we're going to drug test 1 out of every 10 of you or something extreme like that, right? So I think we just looked it up and I am
2005.
correct. Oh, he won?
He won in
won.
2005.
All right, Lance.
He did.
I'll buy you a
I
drink.
win.
Boom.
Yeah, so it is my opinion that race directors should lie, tell people they are going to drug test more, and that I think it, and I personally believe that will shake out people that
I
are
agree.
taking drugs and thinking that they can, do stuff. And in all of the literature, they say we are drug testing and low testosterone. There is no therapeutic exemption. Like they should specify that and put it in writing and put it in there so that people know, like, hey, I've got low T or whatever it is. Like that's cool. Like you've got
Every
your low T
male
problem.
over 40 has low
Thank
T.
you.
Sure.
Thank you.
But like,
Unless you're a post-chemo patient, I don't want you taking
well, no,
T
like
in
that-
racing.
It's
Yeah.
like that's fine. Like you have this agreement with your doctor that you're going to take whatever this medicine is. Don't race. Don't come race or whatever. Or the threat is that you're publicly potentially going to be, cast out as like a drug cheat, right? Because that's what you are if you break the rules. So even if you're not going to pay to have drug testing at your race, I think race directors should say that they're going to drug test because I think it would shake out a lot of people.
How big of a problem is it in triathlon? I have no idea.
I don't know, to be honest.
This is the quote.
Yeah, I really don't know.
Rumblings say that in the ITU fields and draft legal, it is an issue. And in duathlon at the top level back in the 90s and early 2000s, it was a
sure.
big issue.
Gotcha.
Do I think it's an issue as much over like the guys that I raced yesterday? I don't think anybody in that group's doping, to be completely honest.
Here's the thing.
I really don't think so. No, nobody's getting paid well enough.
Yeah. Here's what I think. I think it's really bad when you have like 40-year-old plus guys because they start to see performances drop. But I also think that one of the things that scares me is that triathlon doesn't have any positive tests. Like there's
been none.
There's not a lot of people getting busted in triathlon, and there should be.
There absolutely should
There
be.
should be if they're drug testing.
Yeah.
Or if they're really doing their job, there should be positive tests.
Are they physically testing though?
I don't think so.
They
That's like
are.
USAC does.
I don't think anybody got tested yesterday.
That's ridiculous.
I'm pretty
For
sure
a-
nobody got
for
tested.
a race of that caliber. There should at least
Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe Starkowitz said he'd be the only one, and I would roll over dead if Starkowitz ever tested positive. That guy is so like morally driven in everything he does. There's no way.
Here's the thing.
There's no way. Yeah.
And at the collegiate championships, we like tons of us get drug
Yeah.
tested. Like tons of us. Like I got drug tested at the end of NCAA cross country championships, and I was like back of the pack. Like, tons of people got drug tested. You're talking, out of a field of 200, 300 people. Like 10% of that whole field got drug tested, which is awesome.
I
And
would
do
have
think they
loved to
picked
get
on
drug
Ironman.
tested yesterday.
Absolutely.
Being 15th, I would have had to. It would have taken me 30 minutes to get my stuff together to be able to,
But still,
to do that. But
like that's what you want. You want to be like, hey,
Yeah.
awesome, drug test.
because I know if they're drug testing me, they're drug testing everybody else.
Okay, so drug testing, it's primarily urine based.
Yep.
Okay, so
Yeah, for that, it's the cheapest way to do it.
I understand, and that shouldn't cost very much money to take a urine sample and run it through a centrifuge or a machine.
Comparatively to like
Come up with
blood products.
an expensive way to.
No, it's a dip. It's even cheaper than that. It's not a centrifuge. So you just dip, a piece in there in your urine. But here's the thing: it's not that. It's the having certified people that accompany an athlete after the race. Like there's a process to it, and so that's the part that ends up being more expensive. And having all these people you're flying people in to drug test.
Okay,
basically.
so let's say your standard average triathlon that you guys are going to. Let's say just even why.
Yep.
Okay, how many people show up to one of those races?
To why 400 usually?
Yeah,
500?
let's say
400,
500.
500.
Yeah.
If you had every single person tack on $3 to $5 for the registration fee, nominal fee, they're not going to fill it. Okay, you don't get to buy a Starbucks that week.
Yeah.
And that goes to pay somebody to come out and do drug testing.
Yep.
That's going to
I'd pay
cover
that.
that and
Yep.
more.
Yep.
And you're going to have
That's-
this problem solved within your
Yep.
sport.
Also,
And
I think-
why aren't we doing that?
Ironman's pro registration fee, what goes into that $800, is me paying for my own drug testing.
Yeah, which I
Okay.
think is okay.
I may not get drug tested this year, which means I paid for nothing.
Sure.
Yeah, but
And I
that's
don't
part
even
of the
know who's
game.
getting tested.
You know, and
Well-
for Obra, I mean, this has come up in discussions on
Absolutely.
our board, and it's come
Yeah.
up in discussions just in the community as a whole. And there's people that you kind of will raise your eyebrow to, like, I don't know, that I see some
result
signs
seems
of
a little
symptoms.
fishy, yeah.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
You're getting pretty damn strong, you know, and
Yep.
you're not getting any younger.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. So for Obra, we only pay $35 a year for a license fee.
Yeah.
What if we bump that up to
38. Would anybody even notice?
$75?
It
Yeah.
should be that much. It should be, I think people will get upset if you cracked $100.
Yeah,
But like,
you know, I don't like
you
it
could
when they
easily
raise
double it,
when they
right?
raise
Yeah.
fees just for sake of raising fees. I sit on the Oprah board, and the team fees were raised; they were doubled this year, and we get nothing more for that. And
Yeah.
the recognition that the teams get, or the way that they promote the teams, that's something that I could probably go off on a controversial topic
Yeah.
as well. I don't agree with how they do this. The way that they could be riding the backs of teams to build the community even more would be great. And if they're putting money towards that to help build the community, then fine, raise the fees 100% like they did. But still, they did that, and nobody batted an eye at it. Now, I don't want to see us raise fees for the individuals just for sake of raising fees, just to put more money in the coffers to do God knows what.
Yeah.
If they're going to say we're going to raise fees and it's going to go towards like a drug testing program, I'm all about that. I'm all about that. Or
Yeah.
you know, it's going to go to maybe offset some other costs that are like causing attrition in the road racing scene. I'm all about that too.
you know what would be even better is if they were like, the Oprah fees are $35 and you have to pay this extra $10. Like, it's there in writing, like you see it, like extra $10 for drug testing.
Sure.
'Cause that's just that reminder. Like, I don't even think they have to do drug testing. It's just the reminder that it's there.
Right.
Like, you will be tested, or there's such a fear of being tested that I just think people wouldn't show up to races.
Yeah, it's
of
in
course.
the-
Then you have the fear of like, do you lose people? Do you lose participants because they're
Well,
not gonna
probably,
pay?
but-
I think that's a race director's
But you're a race director,
worry.
right? You're a race director, and
Yeah.
you're like, I don't want to lose.
in
a
that
single
same breath, you know how
participant.
many people just throw their hands up there? I'm like, this isn't for me. These guys are too fast or too strong. They're all animals out there.
Yeah.
And if it's a select group of people that are, you know, maybe sandbagging or they're you know, doping for whatever reason, you're not going to be able to keep up with them. Then you're turning those people away from the sport. So it might be a
You
little
think
bit
it
of a
might
wash.
be a balance?
Yeah.
It's hard
Or
to say. Yeah.
those people that are potentially doping and they're now seeing that they're going to get called out, they're still going to love the sport. They're still going to love racing, and it might hurt their ego a little bit, but
You think they'll stop?
I don't know if they'd stop. I think they would stop doping,
Yeah,
and maybe carry on with the sport. But I don't know.
I think that there's so many weekend warriors for triathlon, and the other piece would be like running races where they're not even thinking about like drug tests. Like, that's not even a
Right.
thought process for them. So, if they would need to read that in writing, like, hey, there's no therapeutic, there's no exemption for, testosterone or whatever it is. That would be I don't know. Part of me thinks like, hey, if these are weekend warriors and they're going to do their first 5K, most of the time they're gym rats and they are on, whatever it is from their doctor or whatever. Like, part of me is like, gosh, I kind of want them to, come do it. I would love for them to do it and then decide like, oh, I really want to do this sport. I can't be on this drug if I want to do this thing. So part of me wants to be like, like, hey, here's, this is exposing people to the sport that hopefully they can, do something different medically or whatever it is. But yeah, I don't know if there's a solution. I love the idea of like race directors just saying they're going to do it, even if they don't do it, just because I think it's like, there's not a lot of consequences to that other than you don't even have to pay for the drug testing. You're not
I'm
going
on
to do
board
it.
with that. Yeah.
Just like tell people you are, and then they won't be out there racing. And I don't know. So
Yeah.
I
Even
could
if you,
definitely-
I mean, you don't even have to boldface lie. You could just say, we reserve the right to test anybody. It doesn't mean that
Yeah.
you are going to, but
I know. Yeah. But
that's a little bit more direct. And it's like, ooh, they're going to test. I'm not showing up to that.
But if you had to like click on something that you had read that, like that's
Yeah.
enough to me. Like I just think it's just enough to scare people away.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Lance, be controversial.
Well, mine's not super controversial, but it's very prevalent in my mind. Glasses or no glasses?
Oh, man.
This really affected me yesterday, and
glasses all day long.
I go no glasses.
Unless you're if you're riding by yourself and stuff's not flinging up off your front wheel, you could probably get away with it. But it's not worth losing your vision over.
Right.
What? So, in a muddy, nasty, dirty race, how do you keep your glasses clean?
Bring multiple glasses or bring something to clean them. That's all I can recommend. I mean, Oakley
make all kinds of weird
Oakley
stuff.
makes like these little bottles. They're not very big, and they actually, if you buy one from Oakley, I used to live next to the Oakley headquarters, and there was little Oakley shops all over the place. So I could walk into any of the stores, and they will refill it for free anytime, as long as you have the little cylinder, and they'll give you the little microfiber cloth. And you on there and wipe it off and put it back on and keep going. Now it's going to screw up your race times, but if you think about it, how many times did you slow down, or how much of a time penalty was it because you couldn't see yesterday?
I did not sprint for the line because I didn't see it coming.
Don't some of them
So
not,
yeah. Second place.
Or we have a deal now with 100% sunglasses. Guess what else they make? Race goggles. We're going to get you some motocross goggles with some tearaways.
I honestly think in a
Lance
race
is going to
like
be out
that,
there with like full-on race motorcycle goggles.
nobody would even
tearaways.
look at you weird in a race like that with that sort of
Honestly,
weather.
it would have been brilliant if you had that.
Can you imagine if you had those goggles on when you went bombing
So-
by those guys down there and you did
Oh,
like
yeah.
motorcycle sounds when you're going by?
Also, that like Rain-X stuff you gave me, Matt, worked great. Could you put some Rain-X on the inside?
Hey, there you
And
go.
put some repellent on the outside.
What's the stuff that you put on your
Yeah.
windshields up here in the Pacific
It's
Northwest?
Rain-X.
Is
I
it
use
Rain-X?
some type of Rain-X
There's another
thing.
Yeah.
brand that's supposed to be even better than the Rain-X, and I have it out in the garage. I can't remember what it's called. I bought it like 2 years ago, and I still haven't
Aquapel.
something like that, and I haven't even put it on my truck yet.
Yeah, I
maybe
like
something like
that.
that.
Yeah.
Worked well, yeah.
Yeah.
I needed it. It was brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see Lance with giant goggles on his.
So do I. Yeah.
I actually
Don't do the Rain-X.
I
Go
don't
to
think
goggles.
I don't think it would look crazy at all if you had goggles like motocross goggles.
Anyway,
Anyway,
about-
rad.
That's right.
nice.
Those,
Move the 80s.
those guys
cycling
do
movie.
like enduro races in those, so they got to be great.
Oh
yeah.
yeah. So
Jake.
should have a specific helmet for that too.
Do you have anything controversial?
I do. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that I think that hyper-focused training plans are bad for the sport of cycling.
I agree.
I disagree. I love the I don't know. It's just like
I agree.
okay. So I love to disagree
Matt,
with everyone.
devil's advocate. Let's go.
I love it whenever I throw something out there. Matt always disagrees with me. It's awesome.
But that was also because he disagreed before we all disagreed with him. which
I
was-
think it's great for a moment in time, but I think ultimately it burns people off out. I think it turns them off to the sport, and I think that you lose the joy for what it is that a bicycle is supposed to bring you.
It is hard to be that hyper focused.
Yeah.
And it will turn off a certain percentage of people. And there's this small group of people like Evan. Let's not name names. Let's not name names.
Evan.
And
Price.
His
That
name is on my piece of paper here as well.
But for the record, I put in a lot of training, but I wouldn't call it hyper focused because it's very malleable.
so
It's very malleable
Dude,
though.
you'll go
Okay,
run
maybe that's
30 miles on a treadmill staring at a wall. Don't tell me that's not hyper focused.
that's hyper something else. I don't know if it's focused.
Man, I'll tell you, like, I admire those people and those training plans that are just like, it's those people where they're like, I will go and do my indoor workout when it's sunny outside and beautiful because they know they're going to get a better workout.
Who would
in.
do that?
There
Who would
are,
do that?
I mean, it's not me. It's for
Tell me
sure.
how that is fun.
It's not fun.
Okay,
but it is a sacrifice for your ultimate goal, which is just, to me, I admire that, where it's like, I am sacrificing something with the end goal in mind of being better than I would be if I had just gone out and had, whatever more fun or whatever it is. There's tons of things that are more fun.
No,
but, like,
I'm not saying that I disagree with you.
Okay.
To 100%.
Sure.
But I think that there is a place for that.
Absolutely.
For some of your workouts. If it's all of your workouts and that's all you do,
This
and
is
that's
true.
year
Yes.
in and year out,
Right.
I think it's bad for the sport. I think that you're going to ultimately lose somebody to the sport.
I
And
will. The way I stay away from burnout at times is from going on a trail run with
Yeah.
you and Nate. That was fun, adventuring new trails.
Absolutely.
Going out with a group, time trialing, and kind of hammering each other there.
Yep.
Doing swims with masters. Yeah, if you're hyper, I mean,
You're right. That
really, like,
that
the-
stuff is not hyper focused.
the only human being I know of, and everybody in triathlon would probably agree with this, that can be that hyper focused all the time is Lionel Sanders. He's
Yeah.
the only guy in the world I think who would train no group training for an entire year and be fine.
Or that's how he portrays himself.
That could be how he
which we
portrays
don't
himself.
know, right? So and so
I think his results would definitely speak to that, though. I mean, the guys,
he's super hyper focused. I mean, even if he's doing 50% of what he says he's doing. Like, that's hyper focused for sure. And he's definitely making sacrifices. Like, it's a beautiful day, I'm gonna stare at a wall and do.
But here's the difference between him and us. How much money a year is he making because of
actually
his
more than we
results?
are.
He's actually
making
making
pretty good money
If
right now.
I was getting paid even six figures
I'd
to
stare
go do
at a
that,
wall. Yep.
I would stare at a wall.
Yep.
I at
Right.
best I might win $75 at Kings Valley in a road race. You know,
In a tire, yeah.
yeah, that's it. It's not worth it to me
Yeah.
to get burned out on something that I am so passionate about.
Yeah, it
I
is
agree.
not worth
I
it to
agree.
you. However, I still respect people that it is worth it to them to put that much
track
sacrifice.
track cyclists are an interesting breed to talk to at that
Sure.
because I actually was just reading an article about mental health and cycling because everybody's seen, there's been a lot of these articles
there have
actually
lately.
circulating lately, and I think it was really focused on cycling in particular because cycling does seem to attract the very hyper focused. Triathlon has your runners and swimmers, which can be hyper focused, but I feel like the cycling group is a more hyper focused training sort of group.
Yeah.
And I know that there was one of the former pros, I'm going to forget the name, but the name doesn't really matter. It was more the spirit of what he was talking about was how mind-numbing track was. Like track cycling was, he was just staring at power numbers day in, day out. And that's, I mean, think about that. That's exactly what we're talking about. Could you imagine riding in a velodrome circles
Yeah.
for a
Well,
living? Like that's your job? Oh my God.
I mean, track running is like that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I raced the 10K, 25 laps on a track. That was your race. Like,
Yeah.
That was your, like,
That's what you were
a
training
race.
for.
That's
Yeah.
what you train for. So it's definitely mind numbing. I mean, of course, there's all these different parts of the puzzle that are super fun, right? Like you're traveling to these races with your teammates, like all this stuff that's a blast. And being hyper focused is part of the game,
Yeah.
And
You can be hyper focused when it's for
Right.
a race.
Yes.
Like I'm going to use you as an
Sure.
example, Matt. When you did Ironman Arizona,
Yeah.
you were super focused on your training. You were hitting all of your numbers. You were hitting all of your workouts. We didn't see you very much. You just kind of put yourself into your little hurt locker and your little pain
Yeah.
cave, and you went out and you did your
a
rides
lot of
by
stuff
yourself.
by myself,
You know,
yeah.
from time to time, I would get to join you for a ride. It wasn't like the year before that when I got the little notification from Strava that you and I rode together like so many times that
Zillion
you were
times.
like my little riding buddy.
Yeah.
Now you did this and you went out and you laid down a fantastic time. You were sub 10 hour Ironman. After that, you were burnt out. Wouldn't
Every
you say
time-
that you were somewhat burnt out?
Every time that I've done an Ironman, I go through a recovery period that is, you could definitely call it burnout, where I swim a little bit and then like just shortly, it's kind of like this, like almost 3 or 4 weeks after the Ironman, I basically, something just fizzles out, and that's tough. But I also think that, that's not necessarily not hyper focused. You're done focusing, at that point. And part of, our plans or hyper focused plans could be this, like, hey, when you're done with that A race, when you're done with that hyper focused part of, your training, that your part of your plan is to take that mental recovery block. And we've talked about this on the podcast a ton of times, where I'll tell runners, go find a new trail.
Yep.
And Jake and I'll be like, hey, go find a new place to ride. Go find all these things. Like, I don't think that takes away from hyper focusedness at all.
But how long was that time period for you, though? Honestly.
How long was that burnout period?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of, like, I'm not going to say that you took a year off. You were still
yeah.
training, but for like a year, you just kind of took your foot off the accelerator. You weren't really structured. You were out doing
Right.
some races here and there. You're just out kind
did.
of having fun.
I did, and that was really hard for me not to have that fear in the back of my head. And I'm still trying to come to grips with it. Like, I'm dealing with all the consequences of that basic year off, right? Like, it's not a year off, but it was a year of not focusing.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely dealing with that.
My 2 cents on that?
Yeah.
That was a healthy way to do it. You
I know,
kind
it
of got
seems
back
like
to
it.
enjoying what you were doing. You
Yeah.
you didn't put yourself in a position where you're going to hurt yourself or burn out or not want to come back and do another race. Now, let's say that Matt, in some parallel alternate universe,
Kept hammering.
he kept hammering, and it's like, all right, let's put the next one on the calendar, and does it 6 months later, and puts another one on the calendar, does it 6 months later. We never see you, and then all of a sudden you get 2-3 years in the sport, and like, I'm done with this. I don't want to see another set of goggles. I don't want to look at my running shoes. I hate my bike. I'm done with this.
But that's so hypothetical. We have no idea, right? Like,
That happens pretty regularly
it
in the
does.
cycling world as well as the triathlon world, if I'm not mistaken.
I can tell you that 3 weeks ago or so, 4 weeks ago, I was swimming more than I had ever swam before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sick of it. I wasn't sick of
fast.
it
Yeah.
because I'm still swimming with friends.
Yep.
I'm still and swimming is probably one of the most boring sports. You're staring at a black line.
Why have we because you and me both this season, now we're starting to love swimming. What happened?
I think a lot of it
I think
is.
you guys found each other.
Yes.
I think
Little
also that
bromance
too.
here, yeah.
I think
We hold-
also,
we
yeah.
hold hands
a pool,
underwater.
a pool bromance. Yeah. Chasing each other's feet.
When you have people to swim with, it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, you know, you do hard work, and it's not that much hard work. Like, right? I mean, yeah, you're swimming a lot or whatever it is, but you warm up and you do those things. There's only a couple pieces of those puzzles that are
Yeah.
really hard.
Yeah.
Where you're really hurting.
So it's going to be like an hour,
And then-
10, hour 30. Yeah.
And then you, just like anything, like when you bike hard or whatever it is, you have that bond of like, oh, that was tough, and we got through it, and there's some enjoyment to that.
Yeah.
But swimming is, you know, comparatively to running on the trails or something like that, like swimming is pretty boring. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that for me personally, I've been able to stay at this and keep myself relatively sharp, other than the times that I've been laying in a hospital bed, by not measuring every single watt. I don't think that that's important. Not measuring every single minute, not making sure that every single ride has like some underlying agenda to it. Like I have my general idea, and I have different boxes that I want to check throughout the course of the week, but it's not the end of the world if I miss one of them, and it's not the end of the world if I want to get a little bit more focused that week because I've got a big race coming up in, you know, a few weeks or a month or whatever it might be. But to stay on point in a training program with every single box having to be checked, having to get out there and do every single ride, and just being that guy that's just it's a labor of trying to, you know, not fall out of love with something that you love so much. I don't think that that's necessary, and I think that I would have probably given up the sport some time ago and gone into something else if that's all it was to me. And I don't want to see that happen to other people, and that's why I think that that's, you know, hyper-focused
know.
training. I don't think that that's necessarily the way that you want to go if you want to be in the sport for a long period of time.
Out of all the people I know, Jake, you might love cycling more than anyone I know. So I don't. When you're like
Jake has also been very, we're going to say outside of when he's laying in a hospital bed, very incredibly consistent with how he trains, and would be kind of a model to look at for like, oh, you don't need to do 3 40-hour weeks a year to compete at the Cat 1, 2, 3 level.
Just
You
be
just need
smart about your
consistent
training,
and smart and enjoy it, because the only way to be consistent is to enjoy. I mean, like really, if we're talking over a 10-year period, like for me, I have had to love triathlon for the last 10 years. Yeah. Like me and Matt had this conversation. How many friends of ours do we know? They got through with college.
Yeah.
Very competitive, very fast, get to real life, fizzles out, not enjoying it anymore, done. There aren't that many people that can do that whole professional life and try to still stay competitive in a sport.
Yeah. Well, I was telling, you know, Evan this, we were just talking, and I was like, almost no one that, you know, because these are people that love track and field. They love running, and you're like, they just stop after college.
Right. Yeah.
Because you don't have the time, or
I think it's because you go from that hyper-focused nature, though,
was
to
there.
some extent.
Yeah.
Well,
I went through that.
I thought there's no way that'll happen to me. Like, and it basically happened to me, right? It's like you can't run at the same level, and it's not as fun when you can't run at the same level. So
One of the very first episodes that we did back when I think Lance first joined us was just keeping balance in our life. And I think that if you,
I remember that.
to take that hyper-focused approach, you really have to kind of tune out a lot of other stuff that's going on in your life. And for me, I can't do that to my family. I can't do that to the work responsibilities that I've bestowed upon myself. I need to be able to give everything equal attention. And finding that balance so that I can stay in love with it and not letting that just dominate my life. If you get into a situation where you feel like you have to get out and ride, and that takes precedent over everything, you know, something's going to fall apart. You've got your work life, you've got your family life, and you've got your bike life.
and it's a juggle, right?
If you can't juggle those things, or if you even try and put a fourth thing in there, something's going to fall off. I don't think that you can handle more than three things at one time.
Lance has used that metaphor before.
Yeah.
I've kept that metaphor with, especially going into this last couple weeks. I tried to keep that metaphor with me, but I think also, I mean, I'm sick as a dog right now and feeling terrible.
Yeah.
I think when you get yourself out of balance, your body will force you
It'll
back
scream
into
at
balance.
you, yeah.
Yes, it will force you back into balance.
Had I not had the pleasure of sitting at this table and gotten to know you over the last year and get to know you a little bit better even before like we even started doing this, had I just known you, just met you a couple weeks ago, I'd be looking at you with like this whole like, this guy's going to fall apart.
Yeah.
He's going to blow up. Something's going to happen in his work life.
Oh,
or something's
I've
going
been
to happen
told
in his
that for
professional
years now. Yeah.
But Evan is one of those rare breeds. And that's why you're a professional, because you know how to kind of push the envelope and you know how to, you know, keep everything hyper focused, and that's what you feed off of. That's the kind of person you are. So I'm not saying that everybody should not do that. It's just for
Oh, no,
a
I
few
actually,
select people.
I actually disagree with Matt on this and agree with Jake. So don't worry, I really do. But
So-
I can see where Matt's coming from with it, though. That there is something that I like about the taking the fun away from it and watching that person operate over years.
Well, and
because it's almost like watching like a tortured artist in a way. It kind of is like, and there's very few of these people, but that's why I bring up Sanders is because I think Sanders is the most on display for people now in the internet era.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You know, if I could be Peter Sagan and you
Everybody wants to be
do
Peter
his
Sagan.
thing,
Yeah.
I would
That'd be
train
awesome.
like him.
Yeah.
If I could just turn off everything and just
Yeah.
focus on training and fitness and nutrition and riding and racing bicycles and get paid lots and lots of money to do that, I would do it in a second.
Yeah.
That would be my job. This isn't my
And talk
job.
about
And like,
mental health and cycling. Peter Sagan looks like that guy enjoys every single time he jumps
Yeah,
on a
no,
bicycle.
yeah.
Like that's, I mean,
so that's the thing is like there's very few Peter Sagans in the world. There's very few professional athletes in the world. You being one of them now, I mean, hats off to you. That's pretty stinking awesome. It's a cool accomplishment to say that you got to that level of your sport. For the rest of us average Joes out there, me being
not
one
put
of
Jake
those,
into that,
and,
but-
and then some, those are my 2 cents. That's my opinion, and people will disagree with me, and people are going to do their thing. More power to you if you can. I just don't want to see you fall out of love with the sport, and I want you
Right.
to have balance in your life, and make sure that you don't forget the loved ones around you, and just
Absolutely.
remember what's important.
yeah, it's a very good point.
Anything else, guys?
That's good.
All right.
That was a good controversy that one
Yeah.
right there.
All right. Let's jump into one last thing. Lance.
I have a dilemma. In 2 weeks, there are 2 competing races, and I don't know which one to do, and I want you guys'
take a
opinion on
vote.
which one to do.
All right, we're here for
One
you.
is the Yamhill Gravel
Oh,
Fondo.
you got to do that one.
It's a 60-mile gravel race here in the local Portland area. And the other is the Obra mountain bike cross country state championships.
Oh,
Double
that
points. Double points for
That one.
state championships.
What time are they at?
One's in Eugene. They're like 3 hours apart, 2 hours
Fly.
apart.
You could fly and
Helicopter.
chopper you down.
one. Chopper Lance the race. Yeah,
I don't know which one to do. I'm torn.
I vote state championship.
Well, here's what I think you do. I think Yamhill will be easier
Yeah.
and more. And you might have more fun, and you might not have as much stress, or because it's a lot closer. State championship also would be very, very enjoyable because it's mountain biking and you would have a good time. You also get double points for that because it's a state championship.
This is true.
So if you care about the points, then do that state championship piece. If you don't really care about the points, then go just have fun at the Yamhill race.
Yeah.
Because that, I really do think you would have, I think, potentially more fun at that race. And it's not even, I mean, I feel like it's almost like a ride. Like you could go do that as a ride and have a good time.
True.
So
Is Surratt doing the mountain bike race?
Yes.
Anybody else from the team? Probably Terry Hamness.
Probably Terry. There'll be a few others.
Huh.
So, and Surratt is doing Cat 1.
Oh, is he getting
Yeah.
bumped up for sure?
Yeah, and I was going to do age group or Cat 2, one of those two. You have a choice between your 10-year age
Well, you have
group.
to go wherever you can win a jersey.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Well, how often are you going to have? When are you going to have another chance to actually win? I mean, because you're going to get bumped up to Cat 1.
True.
When are you
Yeah.
going to have another chance to win a state championship jersey?
Not very many, not unless we do a team time trial.
I think that's the decision. I think that's the
if
decision.
you win that jersey, you have to wear it to every podcast.
Yes, you do. Zipped up.
I don't know.
Is that the Coast Hills Classic?
No.
Which one is it?
Which one?
The race, the mountain bike race. Where is it going to be?
It's in Eugene.
It's in Eugene.
I know. What's
Yeah.
the name of the race other than the state championship? Is
No.
it a new course?
Yeah, new
Oh.
course. It's a 3-mile course, and you do like 4 laps.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'll
400 feet of climbing every lap.
I'll be at Yamhill. Have fun. Just ordered my bike this morning.
Gotta have
All
a
right.
maiden voyage.
Evan, one last thing.
All right. I am now on the Instagrams, but
What?
I have a pseudonym. So
Oh my gosh.
Cassie and I have a real passion for pastries after races. Like
Yep.
it's actually something we like really
I feel
talk
like
more than the actual race about. Like I get more passionate about what we're going to eat after than the actual race.
I was thinking this is Cassie's influence.
It very much is, but this is something that I've really cared about for years too. So it kind of seamlessly came together. We started an Instagram page called #PostRacePastries. So
Pastries.
everybody listen to this.
Well, your actual account is hashtag, or is it just post
just post race. I don't know how the Instagram works. Do you put the hashtag before? I don't know.
You started an account.
Yes.
So it's an @ you would put the @ sign because that would mean that
post-race
you're referring to a specific person.
I love our broken
Got
millennial.
it.
The hashtag is a topic that you want to follow. You
Okay.
can follow like a topic or something like that.
I did understand that because we were trying to look at hashtags that can spread us out a little bit more.
Okay.
We've already gotten like 50 likes, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great job, broken millennial.
Yeah, I saw that come up.
Does a
yesterday.
like equal a follow? That's a dumb question.
A like is like if you post a picture up and
Okay.
somebody likes it, they'll hit the little.
Okay, then we have 50
heart thing.
follows. There you go. Yep.
Nice buns.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh,
Nice
that's beautiful.
buns.
There's going to be a lot of stuff popping up
Yeah, you
there.
got 29 followers. That's not bad for
Okay.
There you
being
go.
online for
I
24
will-
hours.
I will follow that, but please tell me that Cassie's going to help on posting.
30
stuff.
Oh, she's doing like
Majority of it.
Yeah.
Hey Evan,
Because you're broken.
Yes.
who was your number one follower? Your first follower?
we had invited a bunch of people, and guys looked at me, she's like, everything Dial just followed us. Oh, and Jake. I was like, yeah, Jake just followed all of our things.
I was riding on the trainer. I'm like, yes, something
So-
to like take my attention off the fact that I'm just
So
dying
we were
right
saying
now.
we were saying like, well, once we hit 1 million followers, we got to give like Jake a T-shirt or something like
Yeah,
that.
nice buns.
Nice buns.
Oh, that's funny. Oh,
Yep.
best of luck to you.
Oh yeah.
Matt, one last thing.
I'm also on the internet. Yeah, that's I don't really have like anything last one thing to refer to.
Watch Matt's
I'm-
videos.
Yeah, I'm always
Yeah.
posting videos to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/mlegrand. Go check it out.
The last one you posted, was that the April 1st one?
Yeah, I know. I usually try
Hilarious.
to post things.
That was pretty funny.
I
like
you know
it.
I'm pretty good about posting things once per week or so. So I'm fading a little bit, but I'm gonna get some stuff out there this week for sure.
He's
So.
going to have some fun stuff coming up. You should go check it out, though. It really is. It's good information.
Yeah.
My wife and her running group that are all doing triathlons, I constantly am telling them to go check out your channel, go watch your videos, because they can learn some stuff. And
Yeah.
it's good for the newbie all the way up to the pro.
is.
The pro sitting across the table at it here.
Sure. It is. I love his
Still
videos.
learn stuff
They're
from Matt.
great.
So Matt's, he's a good guy to teach us some.
And we're
some
going
tricks.
to have some stuff about the open water swim series.
Yep.
Your wife, I saw her on the trails and she was asking about the open water swim series. That is something that I do in the summertime each year. We'll have 3 races. If you guys are in the area and you're interested in open water swimming, I will put some information out. I'll put some information out on the YouTube channel, but we'll also be talking about it on this podcast.
Sweet.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
Cool. My one last thing is that I need to get my butt back on a bike. It's
Yeah.
been far too long.
Yep.
And my one last thing, part 2, is I just wanted to tell my wife and my kids thank you for putting up with me this past week without a bike, and we had a good time, and my kids did great, and it was fun hanging out with them. It was fun stuff, good times.
Let's go ride right now, Jake. Right now. I'm feeling fresh as a daisy.
Yeah, I bet you do. I don't know. You
I will
can't
not be
see
joining.
though.
I will definitely not be joining.
All right, that is it from us. If you guys want to check us out online, you can check our social media channels, the @Dial Podcast on Facebook and the @Dial Podcast on Instagram. Go check us out there. Like some pictures and posts that we put up there, and tell a friend. While you're at it, too, we could use some new reviews. Go on to whatever your podcast medium is. Probably most of you are using the iTunes.
Yep.
Go on there and write a nice review of us. Hell, write a bad one, too, if you want. I don't care.
No.
But whatever you do, give us those 5 stars. 'Cause,
5 stars, yes.
Maybe even 6, like Matt would say. So
Yeah,
we
6
would
out of
really
5.
appreciate that. I think we've had a couple new ones recently, but we want to make this show kind of continue to grow. And for us to do that, you guys can help by doing that. It helps us propagate and get our message out there. And hopefully we can help to continue building community here and abroad. So we would greatly appreciate that. Again, thanks for listening, fellas. Happy 1-year anniversary. Yeah.
Yep.
It's been fun doing this for the 52
Oh,
weeks
yeah.
that we've been doing it.
I missed
appreciate
you guys the last couple weeks.
I know.
Missed you.
And not filming last week was tough.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We will see you next week. Bye for now.